All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another episode of I Said What I Said. I'm your host, Mr. Robbie Hollywood. With me today, of course, is my esteemed co-host and the man with a voice so deep it will shatter the jaw of a lesser man. But man, Jamie Dog,
Hey,
what's up, baby?
Not much.
What's going on, bro? You good?
Yeah, just trying to do more gigs.
Yeah.
I was just saying before I got my dog fixed, and she's insanely hyper.
Oh, shit.
So they had to give us the pain meds plus. I looked it up. It's like an antidepressant, but one of the side effects is drowsiness.
Yeah.
It didn't fucking do anything.
You're like, this one is still wilding out.
Oh no, she. I think she's fine now. But
Yeah.
just trying to get her to not like
Start.
run and jump and.
Did you have to get the cone?
This
on
is
her?
like it looks like the things that you use when you sleep on an airplane.
Oh, okay.
So it just
It's
prevents.
not a full
No.
cone.
So instead of blocking, it just prevents their neck from being able to bend down all the way.
Right.
So she was able to lick. Probably she could still lick like her vagina. That was about as
Yeah.
far as she could go, but she couldn't get to the wound, which was
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Because after they pee, they always try to clean it up.
Right.
But I was trying to I'm like taking her head and like, how far? No, you can't make it. It's cute. I'll show you a picture of
Yeah.
her. She reminded me of that kid in South Park who always had the life vest on, and then he ended up taking off and drowning.
That was hilarious, actually. No, but you know what?
Yeah.
I've been debating getting my dog neutered. Like it's
The
just
boy?
yeah. So I've been kind of like looking into it. I'm like, I don't know. Like there is positives
Yeah.
and negatives.
Well,
the internet is not giving me like a full consensus.
Well,
on
no
if
shit.
I should do it or not. Like I'm like, okay, so somebody even like some.
Well, the vet's always gonna want you to do it because they make $700.
Right,
Actually,
right.
it's cheaper for the balls, and it's not as much of an invasive surgery. Like the
Right.
recovery for girls, or bitches, whatever. It's a lot worse because they actually have to go in.
Right.
I only got my dog spayed because I didn't want her bleeding around everyone. I didn't want to have to get diapers.
So they do that, eh? Like they fucking be like dogs get the actual.
Yeah,
period.
and then they go into heat, and then they're all crazy.
Right.
And then that's when they start. You see dogs with like nipples,
Yeah.
and apparently once they start developing, if they do start developing, like they're like they're not really breast, but I guess they kind of are. Their chance of breast cancer,
Yeah, just
like they're very likely to have that happen. And I was like, I don't want to put on. They make dog period like diapers for that
Right.
reason, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just
Plus,
I don't
also
want to.
$700 compared to like let's say 5-6 years down the road,
Yeah.
we're looking at like a $5,000-6,000 bill.
Yeah, and I don't want to walk my dog with a fucking bloody pad on her.
You know, having to explain yourself. And shit.
Yeah, be like,
That's
we
yeah.
didn't get her neutered, and yeah.
No, but also like another thing too is like to take her to like the dog park and stuff like that. Like, it's
Oh,
a
if she's
lot
in
of-
heat and there's a dog who's not fixed.
Oh, dude, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
You're in
but
trouble.
is your dog? Yours is a bit older, right?
No, he's
a bit younger.
I think he's
6
actually
months.
around the same. So he was born October 8th.
Okay,
So it's about like what? What are we looking at here?
we're December, January, February, March, April, May. You're 7 months.
Yeah, 7 months.
Has he started humping?
Oh, hard. Yo, bro, listen. Let me tell you something.
That's why you want to stop it,
I've-
because he's
I've-
gonna start coming soon.
Oh, dude, he did. Let me
Oh.
tell you what happened
Ah.
here, bro. This was
Get him
shocking.
fixed tomorrow.
We were at my parents' house, bro. Okay, I've never seen a dog boner before. It's petrifying.
It's an enlarged clitoris.
Bro,
Looks like a tube of lipstick.
Oh my god! Me and my girl are sitting there like, holy shit! What is?
Yeah.
And then there's this little drip coming off. So he has like this blanket. He has this blanket.
That he fucks.
Oh my god, bro! He fucks that thing too. And sometimes he wants to like put it on your leg and hump it there. Like
At least he's considerate and wants to put a cloth on your leg before.
Right?
My friend's little dog, and little dogs are the worst because a big dog will never really try to hump you, but a little one, you leave your foot in the wrong position.
no. They'll fuck with you right away.
So my godparents, they got their dog fixed, but it was a bit late. So once they discover humping and getting a boner,
Right.
it doesn't really go away.
Ugh.
But they won't spray every. Like there was this dog my dad.
It's not like an ejaculation.
No, that'll happen.
Oh yeah.
So what this one dog? It was this giant. I forget what it was. It was a big dog, and it would fuck its own face.
Its own face.
Yeah.
Like it was
it didn't. No, it didn't suck its own dick. It fucked its own face. His head would be on the ground, and he would be humping into his own. Yeah, my dad said
Marilyn Manson style type.
Apparently, that's a myth. He didn't remove his ribs.
Listen, I choose to believe that motherfucker is a weirdo. I choose to believe.
You can apparently count them. You can just, but I can't picture a doctor doing that anyway.
You know what I mean?
But and then so what happens is when they do finish. The end of their dick like swells up, and that's to prevent the female dog from running away.
Oh.
So it's a way to keep them like stuck there for a while. That way they can. It helps ensure that they get
all the
inseminated.
Load, yeah.
So this dog would come in its mouth, and then it would get like kind of stuck, and he'd be like, and then he'd finally get it out, and then he would just be like wet all over his mouth.
Oh, dude, come on.
You're telling me should I get my dog fixed? Did that convince you?
Tomorrow morning.
I booked my appointment at my vet.
Oh my god.
They got us in.
I'm actually nauseous right now.
Yeah,
thinking about it.
Have some strawberry guava.
Fuck, I need some strawberry guava. Goddamn Diet Coke right now in my soul. Like, oh my god, I just pictured it because like. Dude, I'll never forget.
Yeah, he saw it while like they were like eating.
Oh, dude,
he's next. He's like bad. Off in the corner.
Oh, that's bad. That's really, really bad. Oh yeah. God, I couldn't imagine, bro. Like I'm getting this motherfucker like fixed tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
like that is wild, bro. Yo, speaking of animals,
see the vet won't tell you that part.
I would put it in the fucking brochure if I was a vet to tell you.
Just like a diagram.
Yeah, like hey, listen, motherfuckers, this is what you're looking at right now. You better run me my money too in an expeditious manner.
Plus, if your dog does knock up, see, if my dog got knocked up, I got to deal with a bunch of puppies.
Right.
If your dog fuck, what are they gonna do? Like make your dog pay child support?
It's called puppy support. I wonder how that's not a thing actually.
Because you make money off of puppies.
Yeah, that's true. You can.
The lady where I got basically she had her dog, the black lab and whatever mini Eskimo. I haven't actually looked up what that breed is, but anyway, so she wasn't fixed. Then they didn't have a problem with it. And then they got this new dog who was a shepherd. Right. Really long hair. They were told he was fixed. He wasn't.
Oh,
the first day he starts, they didn't notice that. But then once they found out, like
they were fucking.
Like the next day, so they got him that day. That's when they. Based on when she got pregnant, that's basically when he fucked her. Then they found out, like, the next day after that, like, oh, shit, he's got balls because he's got really long German Shepherd hair.
Right,
so he's half collie, which is really long hair, too.
Right.
So they're like, fuck, got to get her fixed. Got to get him fixed. And then they got him fixed, and then they realized she was pregnant, and then she had 10 puppies.
Ooh.
But they sold them for $350 a pop.
That's 35.
So if anything, if your dog impregnate, you'd be like, "You're welcome."
You're welcome, motherfucker. You know.
But it's a lot to deal with.
Hey, for $3,500, fuck it.
Dude, some breeders. Have you ever seen those like they're unhealthy sized mastiffs and pit bulls? So there was this one pit bull that was 250 pounds, and it has a life expectancy of probably like 7 years.
Max.
Yeah. And it's fucked.
250 pounds.
It couldn't even move.
That's a tiger.
Oh, it ate like 7 pounds of food a day.
7 pounds of food.
Think about it. My dog's 35 pounds.
Right.
I buy, this dog's almost 10 times. I think the one they had was almost 300 pounds.
What?
So that's like 10 times the amount of food that you'd feed an average sized dog.
That's breeders that fucked up.
Yeah,
that's
like you buy a 40-pound bag of dog food. That at the most that would last you like
a week,
5 days.
Wow. So that's
and,
so you spend like $70
and it's a pit bull, so it's probably just eating babies. You're like, he's not hungry, but like there's an Amber Alert.
I don't know why every time this motherfucker don't eat, one of the neighbor's kids goes missing.
You get a text and it was like last seen in the jaws of a monster.
Of a monster, a spit bull. Yo, speaking of animals, though, we lost a fucking an unsung hero of the internet world this week, man. Apparently, Grumpy Cat. You know, Grumpy those.
Oh, he dead?
Yo, apparently Grumpy Cat died, bro.
Oh.
But yo, apparently, you know how much that cat was worth.
I know their merch. The merch they made off it. Holy
that
shit.
cat apparently, I was reading some place that this cat had a net worth of about $100 million. In just like, because they like, based on
all the videos they made and videos, all the income.
No, there is the videos, there is the merch, like people trying to license.
Cat.
Yeah.
I thought they did.
No. So the lady who owned the cat used to be a waitress at some like fucking coffee shop out in Arizona, and then when the picture of the cat blew up, she fucking quit her job, started this company called Grumpy Cat Inc. So now, like, there is a movie, there is a Lifetime movie that they did about the Grumpy Cat.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, like the money, but also, yo, this cat was making millions of dollars. Like, there is commercials for Honey Nut Cheerios.
And they use Grumpy Cat.
And they use Grumpy Cat. So, and then she sued. So this company, I guess, tried to license to make shirts. And then I think they gave her like $150,000 up front. And then they had some sort of deal where they would pay her as they go. But then they started using the image, like on.
But she licensed. Shit, like, she licensed.
Yeah, no. But she only licensed it for T-shirts. Oh. They started using it. They started this like coffee thing we called Grumpy Cat Coffee or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And the lady sued, and she got like $2 million.
You think she would have just partnered with them?
You know what though? But like, fuck, like there were
no, but she could have turned that $2 million. She could have invested it.
I'm sure she did the math.
But like, if let's say I was about to buy myself a Grumpy Cat shirt, and then I found that out, I'd be like, I don't want to buy your shirt, you greedy bitch. I'm picturing Grumpy Cat. Did you ever watch the Freddie Mercury movie?
Yeah. What was it called? Fuck.
It's one of the names of the song.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. That was a great movie.
It was really good.
Fucking fantastic.
In theaters too. They nailed the live performance.
Oh my god.
I don't even know how much that cost because they had to hire all those extras.
No. I think it was CGI.
No. There was another. Sorry, I mixed that up. There's my girlfriend just showed me a few days ago that they hired for some movie for a similar concert scene.
Right.
They had to hire like 15,000 extras.
But why? This is not 1992. Like, you can literally get this done on a computer.
Dude, have you seen the budgets for some movies though?
Yeah. This is
all right. $500 a day for 10,000 people and the crew and I'm picturing Grumpy Cat being Freddy when he's like alone in his house and he's just surrounded by money and drugs. And he's like, "What happened to me? I'm a sellout."
I almost smiled the other day.
Yeah,
this is not no, but like honestly, bro, when I read it,
so that cat must have been pretty old by the time because Grumpy
Cat was 7. When he died at 7 years old.
It died at 7?
Yeah.
Dude, this sounds like some Jimi Hendrix, like his manager made it. She's like, if the cat's dead, it's worth more. Like,
yo, I don't know, bro. It sounds like to me it was like inhaling like fuck it, like it was crushed, like freebasing dog kibbles or something. It's like,
no, it's was it catnip?
Yeah, catnip or whatever. So, oh fuck, man. But ever since I read that this motherfucker was worth $100 million, I've been looking at my dog differently, bro. I'm like, listen.
Why can't you make a funny face?
Exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just gonna settle for being cute. Cute don't get you paid out here, motherfucker. Get a little.
Joe Rogan's dog has an Instagram account. I love when people say it like that. It's like, no. Joe Rogan has an Instagram account with dog pictures.
Yeah, exactly. I think the dog, but you know what though? You get to a point where that dog becomes famous enough. Now he needs like a fucking a social media manager and shit.
Oh, know? Dude, it's Marshall the dog or something. Marshall the lab. Something like that.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of the dog. It's actually a cute dog.
Oh no, it's golden retrievers they're always smiling. They always look. Yeah. That's the weird thing about some dogs. Like my dog has a naturally like smiley face, and you think it means they're happy, but they could be like freaking out, but like look like they're smiling.
Fuck you up, you know.
Yeah, my dog's gonna be a great guard dog, I think.
Oh
yeah.
Are you training it for that?
No, I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to make her not.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't. She's never she's just very timid and protective when like we walk her. So when I walk her, I'm and she's also young, and this is around the age apparently when they start to become afraid of.
Right.
So people on skateboards freak her out.
Right.
Sometimes people on bicycles, people if they're wearing like a hoodie.
Right.
Usually men. Dogs naturally, especially female dogs, naturally do not like men.
Right.
So
especially if your girl is walking it or something like that.
Yeah, if they're walking towards you or jogging, they think
Holy
something's
shit,
up.
Yeah.
And then so she'll usually just give a little like "Rrr."
Yeah.
And
see, my dog is the whole complete opposite.
Yeah, I know.
This motherfucker is just way too.
Oh, so this reminds me of because your dog looked kind of like this dog. It was like a Bichon and something else.
Yeah.
My girlfriend and I are walking down, and there's a lot of dogs in my neighborhood. So there's a guy, and we come around the corner, and a car just turned down the street that we're walking down, and this little white fluff ball just runs across the street, goes up to the guy and lies on its back, and he starts petting. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's his dog.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know why it's not on a leash. He just got out of his car.
Right.
I thought maybe the dog had run out of the car and was freaking out. And I was like, you shouldn't be doing that. And then we walked out, and he looks at us and goes, is this your dog? And we're like, no. Is not your dog? And no. So he runs up to us, immediately just lies down. My girlfriend's picking him up, holding him like a baby.
Right.
Just soft, still pretty young. You could tell by the fur. It was still super, super soft. It wasn't like mangly old fur. My mom's Bichon's fur is disgusting now because he's old. So he's just looking at her, and she's like, her heart's melting. We're knocking on doors trying to find out. And then he was literally about to walk to his car with the dog to take her to the vet to see if there's a chip, because there's no fucking collar.
Oh shit, yeah.
And then from a few houses down, this young guy comes out, and he just goes, I think that's my dog. And I went, but yeah? And he went, yeah, that's my dog. And I went, what happened? And he went, oh, I thought she couldn't get out. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I have the back all gated off, but apparently not. And I'm like, what part of Ireland are you from? And he's like, Dublin. And I'm like, do you guys know how to build fences in Dublin?
What is going on?
And I'm like, dude, I flat out told him, like, your dog was probably 4 seconds away from, because it ran between two parked cars across the street.
Ugh.
So there's no way that car turning would have even seen the dog.
Ugh.
I'm like, your dog was 4 seconds away from becoming roadkill.
Holy fuck, eh?
So always have a fucking, like, even if your dog's in the backyard, like, put it on a leash, because I've seen dogs dig under fences to try to get out. Yeah. Have the collar on, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know. At least so somebody can find it. I don't know. For me, man, if my dog makes it out of my condo, this motherfucker ain't running nowhere. That's a 30 floor. That's
another thing.
Floor is fucking.
He's gonna get basically into the hallway.
Yeah, he can get into the hallway by like what? Unless this motherfucker knows how to use the elevator, then
if someone's using the elevator, they're gonna see the dog and go, that's someone's dog.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a cat in my building. She just leaves she's right by the elevator. She leaves her door wide open all the time. Right. And there's this tiny weird cat who's creepy looking and just wandering around. And then you hit the elevator, and she's trying to jump on, and you're like trying to kick her off the elevator. Oh, yeah. She goes, oh, hi, Gertie. Oh, what you doing? I'm like, she tries to like lure her with like a little stick with a little thing on the end. I'm like, you're not going to get your cat attention.
That's a well.
She smokes a weed vape thing, but she doesn't realize that it doesn't really make a smell. Yeah. But she still lights incense to like cover it up. I'm like, dude, your pen doesn't smell.
I told you about this, how like in this building, like fucking management is like super rigorous about the smell of weed going into the fucking hallways and shit, right?
Well, especially because when it's condos, people own it, and they all vote. They vote.
Yeah. So like since like fucking the first day I moved in here, there were like fucking signs everywhere of no smoking, whatever. But like, fuck, man, like in the middle of goddamn, like with the amount of money that I pay to fucking live here, go fuck yourself.
And you're on a balcony. Like, it's one thing if you're smoking in your apartment.
I kind of do smoke inside though. I try to like do this like fucking.
Just get the pens, man. So much. I smoke in my car. No, I don't.
Yeah. In case anybody's listening. But yeah, so fucking they sent me like enough letters, fucking like warnings, this and this and this and that. But like it was fucking wintertime in Canada, right? Like fuck that shit. I'm not trying to go split because sometimes, man, you just want to kick it on your couch.
Well, my old building,
spliff, right?
my old building.
No, here's up. So like fucking, so these people are fucking sending me crazy letters, and then out of nowhere they fucking send me some sort of like legal notice and shit. Yeah. So I'm like, fuck, how the fuck do I get out of this? Tell me how I send them an email saying, telling them, because you mentioned sage and shit, right? So I'm like, me and my wife are, practicing Hindus. We light sage as a form of prayer, and you continuing to send us these letters is actually some sort of
religious
affront. Yeah, it's a religious persecution. Yeah. Not even 2 hours later, bro, I get a fucking phone call. We are so sorry. We did not.
I thought it was marijuana. I'm not updated on my herbs.
No. They were saying that like, we heard it from the neighbors. Yeah. We should have done an investigation. We really appreciate you like informing us that. Now I don't even bother putting anything underneath the door, bro. I'm smoking right in the hallway for what?
You should once in a while just light some sage, just to, like, or just have a bundle. Here's what you do: have a bundle of sage somewhere. And then if someone knocks,
I do.
And then you just go,
hello. No. But see, you know what it is though? I have this fucking weird, because a lot of this building is just like these rich Asian kids. Except I would be unlucky enough that the one neighbor who's the shitty, and this guy is such a shitty neighbor. Yeah. That even in the building, like even the security will ask me like, does that guy bother you sometimes? Is this weirdo dude? Like I'll never forget this. So when I first moved here, right? Yeah. I have like these 5 Nigerian guys moving my shit into the condo, and this guy's unit is right across from mine. Mm-hmm. Buddy gets out, and it's like this Asian dude, but he clearly looks like he's on the spectrum of Down syndrome. Like he's definitely...
Well, there's no spectrum of Down syndrome. You have it or you don't.
No.
Autism, you mean, right?
Autism, sorry.
Yeah, autism. Yeah. Down syndrome, you got the face.
No.
That's fucking hilarious. He's on the spectrum for Down syndrome. You know what I mean? Fuck, you gotta keep that. Timestamp that. That's funny as shit.
So this dude comes out, and he's like... He looked, first of all, I see him, so I'm trying to be neighborly. So I go to shake his hand. I'm like, hey, brother, like, my name is Robert. I'm moving across. He doesn't shake my hand. Like, he has...
You got scared of, like...
No, he had, like, not only, he did not even, like... usually when people are germaphobes, like, if you don't mind, I'll give you a pound or whatever.
That's what I do, because my hand's always so clammy.
No, but this dude had, like, he's so shook inside of his body.
For those who can't see, Robbie's eyeballs just popped out of his own head.
Straight up. Like, this dude is like, holy fuck, like, I can't believe this is, like, something that people do naturally. So I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. So he looks...
They're allowing black people in here. What? Right? This is an Asian neighborhood.
He's like, there goes the neighborhood. So this guy looks into my unit, sees these 5 Nigerian guys moving my shit into... And he looks at me, he's like, are you guys all moving in here? I'm like... It's 1 bedroom and a den.
You should have said yes.
I try not to fuck with him because I had just moved.
You don't even, and he's autistic.
Yeah, so obviously now at that point, like things are adding up. Where I'm looking at him like, okay, this guy is obviously not normal, right?
Yeah.
Then, so I'm thinking that he's the one who's been fucking like, calling concierge.
He seems like the guy he's never smelled pot in his life though.
I rarely ever see him leave his unit. Yeah. The only other time that I've ever seen him is when I take out the garbage. Yeah. And so I'll go to the chute, and this guy comes out of his unit.
You gotta shoot? Yeah. I gotta just go in the elevator and stink it up.
No, I gotta shoot. Depending. If it's a lot of garbage, then you have to bring it downstairs. But usually, you have a chute. It's 30 floors up, bro. You can't be going up and down. Yeah. So like fucking this dude, like will come out. He will hear me coming out of my unit. He will come out, look at me, and then just run back to his unit.
I want to meet this guy.
Bro, this dude is a fucking weirdo. He scares the shit out of me.
That's the thing with condos is what I don't like is, like if you're obviously owning something, it has, you can keep the value. And but for me, it doesn't feel like you own like your condo. Yeah. Like if you're on that's why I want to move somewhere where I can have even a moderate sized piece of land, and I feel like distance makes better neighbors. Yeah,
that is true.
It is true. Like because you have to like almost, someone's at the end of your driveway and they give you a call and like it's not like they're just there all the time.
Yeah.
And then you can call them over and it seems just more free. But like in a condo,
Yeah,
they all have
it's
to
the
vote.
rules, bro.
Like no one
sucks.
on your street has to vote on if you're allowed to smoke weed in your backyard.
Exactly.
Actually, in Markham, when pot was legalized, they basically just said you still can't smoke weed anywhere, and we're never putting a dispensary.
Can they get away with that shit? Can they get away?
Yeah,
with
it
that,
could
like,
because they left it up to the
municipalities?
bylaws.
So like municipal bylaws can, but this is a federal law.
No,
How do you?
No, see,
It's
okay,
like saying like abortion is outlawed in Scarborough, but you can
well,
go
that's
to-
actually that. There's some validity to that because it's up to the province to determine the conditions for abortion, for your health care, for liquor.
Right.
So it is actually a better system. So the thing with the Markham crap though is if they put it to a vote for everyone who lived in Markham, like that's one thing I really like that they do in the States is when they're like, okay, we're gonna if they have an election or just
Right.
a vote
They have
a bunch of
yeah.
things that you can vote on.
Right.
So basically,
So
they've
I'm
had
going
the
to
same.
interrupt you, but you just mentioned that and it reminded me, like I think the last election on one of the things in
Porn.
California, but yeah, the use of condoms in porn.
In porn.
And that shit got voted down.
If you're really upset that people don't watch porn, like you shouldn't watch porn anyway. I think it's pretty bad for your brain.
I'm not a fan of condoms in porn though. I find it.
Yeah.
I find like it violates.
Yeah.
So like you ever see like
I do feel like though that if they made condoms more normalized, there would be less abortions.
What do you mean more normalized?
Well, okay,
Have them feeling better.
Because the libertarian argument is that like let them do whatever you want. They get tested and
Right.
you're like sure. As a cultural matter though, I think watching porn generally not the best. Like this isn't coming from someone who's never watched porn. I grew up when streaming, like when I was 13, that's right around when YouTube started.
Oh yeah.
And that's when like fucking all the because before porn on the internet you had to download it. You had to down like streaming wasn't a thing. I turned pubescent right as you could feasibly watch porn in the time it took for your family to like go and come back.
Yeah.
And so and this is coming from someone who I think that like damaged my view on
Really?
like
you think it did? Because I'm not gonna lie, I still consume me and my girlfriend have a very healthy like sex life.
Yeah.
But I still like watch porn quite regularly.
I find though that and then there's also the whole like if you're with someone, you should not be jerking off more than you're having sex.
What?
Like if you jerk off 3 times a week and you have sex 2 times a week, you should be having sex 5 times a week. To me that makes no sense.
Yeah, that's
unless
true,
they're out of town and you're like I get the reason to I know why it's there.
So what is your ratio? What is your
I don't really
at all.
No.
Really?
Dude, it makes
sometimes man I just need sometimes I need to get my mind right, you know what I mean? I don't because see if I'm gonna have sex with my girl, right, there is a whole entire protocol, right? There is the foreplay, there is this, and then look, I enjoy it, but sometimes I just want to squeeze one out 30 seconds flat,
right? It's like
you know what I mean? Like,
think of it like meditation.
Go about my day.
You're learning to not scratch an itch in a weird way. Again, this is coming from someone this isn't how I've lived my entire life.
Like, listen, I used to be a
yeah, and I think my buddy, he's a very smart dude. He almost won this like $1 million math Nobel Prize thing.
Nobel? Do you have Nobel Prize winning friends, bro?
Almost. There's 7 questions. He got 6.
Yeah.
It is a $5 million thing.
Really?
I don't know, but he's the kind of guy. And when I first heard him when we were in high school, I'm like, you're fucking crazy. And he's like, no, like unless it's a meaningful relationship, like to him jerking off or having sex with just random people, it changes your trajectory on what you're trying to get. So he's never chased pussy, but he almost won a Nobel Math Prize, right?
See, okay, let me ask you a question. If somebody said, you know what, I'll give you...
What? Sorry, before we go way off, what were we talking... Oh, sorry, we were talking about the weed thing.
Right.
Finish that real quick. The thing with Markham, though, is they didn't put it to like a vote. It was the people who were already on the council. They voted on this huge thing of now you can't smoke weed anywhere in Markham. accept your own private property. You can't grow it anywhere in Markham on your private property.
Right.
And then they won't open any dispensaries. Now you have to drive to the only fucking one that's in Toronto. There's 2 in Toronto now.
Yeah.
Or order it to
your
your
mail.
mail.
Bro? Like, look at the demographic in Markham.
What are you trying to say?
Is these like no? Listen, no. I'm looking at it. It's like
rich Chinese people do not smoke.
No. It's not that they don't smoke weed. It's even if they smoke weed, they're looking at their children, right? Like like Asian parents have a very hands-on style
and that's
of
respectable.
parenting,
That's
right? So they're looking at it. They're like, listen, my kid goes to piano 4 times a goddamn week. I don't want them distracted by marijuana coming around.
No, and I respect that cultural aspect of it.
Yeah, but see, you know what though? Like,
but
don't make
it's
it
the
a
whole
law.
thing of like you having the right. Like, what does freedom?
Yeah, it's
really
when
mean?
your rights don't infringe on the ones
right,
of
but
others,
in
right?
terms of like the concept of freedom, when you have freedom, you also have the freedom to be a complete mess and failure.
Right.
And then so there's freedom in the sense of like, will a gun be put to my head if I do this? And then there's will I put my own gun to my head if I do this?
Right.
Like, will I ruin my own life because of doing this?
Right.
So
Because
a lot of libertarians especially will say, you should be allowed to do this, but you also making an informed decision. It comes, from your parents. It comes from your culture. It comes from how you were brought up. So there, you can have that balance of like, if you do this, you won't go to jail, but here's what could happen instead.
Right.
And
because to me, when I look at the situation, there is a lot of downfalls there. Because now Markham is right. Because people are still going to smoke weed there. You're not going to stop.
Oh no, people.
Weed, right?
Yeah.
So now you are.
You'll just get a ticket, basically.
No, but also like there is now the black market aspect. By you not, because see, at least when you decide to have some sort of like legalizing it allows you to be able to control how it's being sold, right? It takes away from the crime aspect. You know what I mean? Now you're ripe for people looking to fucking, sell this shit out of the back of their Honda Accords. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not going anywhere.
But it is a slow change. Like when alcohol was first brought back out of Prohibition,
right?
What they did was, we have all these people. So like a lot of alcohol manufacturers now. Mm-hmm. Started or were interrupted, should say, and were then allowed to continue on.
Like bootleggers.
But they were still, it's not like the government said, now we're going to make all the whiskey. Right. Think of how many things you would miss out on if the government just made all the booze. You'd have one kind of vodka, you'd have one kind of whiskey.
Where was it that it was like that? Like, I feel like there was some country in Europe or something like that where it was, like with the government.
Probably Russia, Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Vodka was in your ration.
It was what?
Vodka was in your ration. It's a way to keep subvert the population. Mm-hmm. Give them just enough food so that they're not completely starving, and then like with Venezuela, they're going to completely have an uprise, and it will fall apart eventually. Just Soviet Union lasted so long,
right?
So you give them enough to make it seem like, it's like if you're farming.
Yeah, man.
So then, so they give you the certain amount of food, just enough to like keep you almost like a farm animal.
Alive. Yeah.
Where it's like, don't worry, they're protecting me. Look, they're giving me food. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like Stockholm syndrome. That's what like full blown socialism, communism will get you to, is that, and the thing with the more that's the government gives you, right, especially once it's the next generation. Mm-hmm. So if you're the generation that, this certain whatever program starts, and then by the time the next generation comes, they're used to it.
Right.
The guy who comes along to say, you're giving up your freedom for this, right, they're seen as the bad guy trying to take away their free stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like for instance, some of the Doug Ford cuts, you can go through each one and you can debate, what it's accomplishing, all that stuff. Right. But in general, as a whole, when someone like, he's making cuts, and you go, that's not always a bad thing, but I can see why people hate them because they're so used to. So they in Hamilton they had this basic income thing they were trying to do.
Oh yeah. You want to give those crackheads in Hamilton?
Oh, sorry, my headphones are a bit weird. Yeah. So then, sure enough, once the piece got this one woman, she's like, well, without it, I can't afford this new apartment I got, and blah 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 blah, and it's like, okay, but you were given this free money. You should you got. I think she was on it for 6 months, so you basically got I think it was over 1,000 or 1,500 a month that she got. You should be looking at it as if
a month, every citizen in Hamilton
every month
was getting.
No, they did it with a few people just to see.
Oh, it's like a pilot program.
Yeah, you should be looking at it as for 6 months I got free money,
right?
And I saved none of it.
Yeah, see, that's why
money given to you.
Yeah, that's why I was like
money loaned to you is different because now you have
to
a responsibility to pay it back. Like I've had I have debt and shit and my fair share of loans. Right. It actually can and my credit sucks and I know that. But it's if someone were to just give you money and then put conditions, money's never free, so they'll always put conditions on it.
Right. So one of the things you were talking about the whole Doug Ford cuts and shit. When he became premier.
Yeah.
One of the first things that he cut was a program called the Ontario Green Energy Program.
Right.
So for me, that was a disastrous fucking situation because the venture capital firm that I work with, a lot of our work, we lend money to a lot of these contractors that do things like attic installations and fucking they do a lot of these retrofit work, right? Like retrofitting windows and all these type of things.
Yeah.
So that program, the homeowners who are retrofitting their home to be more energy efficient,
right,
will receive a substantial amount of money to go towards the work.
Right.
So this guy, literally day one, when Doug Ford came in, that was the first thing he asked.
Right.
You know how much money that ended up costing us? It was an unbelievable fucking thing. But
that was something that you were used to, right?
Well,
if I give you money,
it was going because you have to understand. Let's say they're giving you a $5,000 retrofit.
Yeah,
you're still doing $15,000-$20,000 worth of work on your home to be able to qualify for that, right?
So it's basically just a little. They'll pay for it.
Yeah, just a little.
It's like when you buy a Tesla.
Yeah.
See, that's when I was because it included also my grandfather has a Tesla and he had an Audi before.
Right.
Got written off for $80,000. It was brand new.
Wow.
Someone else was a guy at my work was driving it and someone rear-ended him at a red light.
Oof.
So thankfully my grandfather wasn't in the car.
Yeah.
Because that could have been really bad.
Yeah.
So then he got the $80,000 for that. The Tesla was $120,000, and the government was like,
"What did he get? The Model X?"
No, it's like the one right before the S, like the P100D.
Oh, shit, those things are fat.
It's fat.
Bro. Yeah.
But he was like, he literally said, if the government's stupid enough to give me $15,000 to buy one of these fucking things,
I'll take
so he
it.
basically just got. He already paid for the Audi,
right.
so then that's $95,000.
So he had bought the Audi cash.
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck, man, your grandpa's loot, bro.
Oh no, that's the company I work for. He sold it, but he still owns the land.
Right.
And he was like, and he's the kind of guy who's like, if the government's stupid enough to give me this money to buy the car, then fuck it, I'll buy the car.
You know what I mean?
But obviously that's a very and I'm trying to find a way to put this. When you set up these programs,
right.
After a certain amount of time, if that program got cut, because that program had been going on for 15 years,
right.
One of the reasons they cut it is because they a lot of times with these government programs, the checks and balances aren't in place because it's the government working with the government,
right.
So they came in and said, okay, we got elected because Ontario has more debt than fucking anyone.
Really?
Not as Ontario's in so much debt that
But isn't it
even
also
our
the
even our
richest
health
province in
that's why
Canada?
our healthcare system was taking a hit even before before they were like the healthcare system was losing money drastically, and there's no money to fund anything. They're severely understaffed. Most hospitals used private funds as well and donated old equipment. They couldn't even afford so there was a real problem with we're spending too much money. To live in the province was super expensive. We're right behind British Columbia, and also the fact that pretty much Toronto, which is in the GTA, was getting most of the benefits from things that people in the other parts of the province were paying for.
Yeah.
So if you think the hospitals in densely populated areas are bad, like you go to, I went to one near my cottage, and it was the size of this room. Like, it was insane. They usually have to move you to a different hospital.
Yeah. See, that's why like when you listen to guys like Andrew Yang talking about universal basic income, I mean, there is.
I feel like it would work for a year, and then people would get used to it. And
because I don't see how. First of all,
especially when
$1,000 a month. Like what the like? Okay, like
given to you, not like we'll give you a loan that's and they tried that before, subprime loans, and that didn't work.
No, hold on, let me land this.
Yeah.
Like to me, like. It's hard to be. First of all, $1,000. I don't think $1,000 a month. Yeah, it could help, but I feel like
it could cover some of your rent.
But once people get used to it,
it just becomes
the
part of their
mismanagement of it comes into place. Because when you're expecting that money to come in. You know, because you know when you're like,
and they will run out.
You know when you're 2 days away from getting your paycheck, and you're like, and you debate like a purchase, and you're like, I'm getting paid next weekend, like in 2 days anyway.
Oh, so, I'm the king of that,
right? So, you know, I could see how eventually, yes, at first, you know, it may, and also when you look at it too, is in a country like the U.S. where you have things like the opioid crisis, you giving everybody $1,000.
Well, then exactly. So they'd have to go. Well, eventually it would come down to, well, if you live in a certain part of the country, cost of living is more. The taxes are different. Maybe this guy deserves more. Well, this guy's a drug addict. Should we be giving him? Eventually, so it starts off as this great idea, and then
it becomes
the human condition kicks in.
Yeah.
Which is why I forget who said it was like capitalism isn't always great, but it's the best we have, because it gives you you see the what's the fruits of your labor. Was that the term?
Yeah, fruits of your labor. Yeah,
exactly. If you just give someone shit, and especially once they go, like, imagine if your parents gave you an allowance every week, and then your dad loses his job. Yeah.
Then now having to learn how to fish for yourself.
Yeah, it's much easier to go from like rags to riches than from riches to rags, and then trying to go back to riches.
Like see, this is something that you find in people who, for example, have been living on welfare for a really long time,
like generationally
living on welfare, and then something happens and they have to now, you know, go out there and fend for themselves.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard. Like, I have a friend of mine, right? Like, this guy, he was an immigrant here to Canada.
Yeah.
Right? So the system here was really good to him. Like, you know, he comes to Canada. He had 3 kids under 18 when he came here, right? So he gets, you know, the government gives them this beautiful 3-bedroom apartment that he's paying $180.
How long ago was this, sorry?
This was like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Right? So the government gives them this.
The government, federal or provincial?
Yeah, it's part of the immigration package. It was.
I know, but it's somewhat divided up. Like, if it's federal.
Or some of it is federal, some of it is provincial. But not only, I think he was getting like $1,200 in just
money,
like just welfare. Yeah. Then you talk about the baby bonuses, right? So each kid, he was getting like $600 a month.
They should stop calling it a baby bonus if you can get it when you're 17.
Yeah, no, but like it's right. So he has 3 kids, so that's probably like $600-700 per kid. Yeah. So that's $2,400. And so this guy has all he has to take care of is literally his $187 rent every month for this.
$187.
This was a 3-bedroom apartment. Huge
And I bet he
apartment.
still complained that it wasn't that great.
No.
Okay.
No. Here's the point that I'm trying to get at, right?
Okay, sorry.
So then this guy, through time he ends up going to school, earns a law degree, right? He goes to university, earns a law degree, but
How did he pay for university?
OSAP, right? He was
Okay.
getting OSAP, all this type of shit, right? But
Quick side note to anyone listening who's considering going to university: 1, probably don't do it. 2, always try to get a loan that's not OSAP.
Yeah,
always try to get a bank loan.
I mean, to me, like when it comes to school, it depends what you want to do.
Exactly.
I don't want to know.
But OSAP gives you the thing with OSAP. Let's say $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
You do a calculation of how much it costs. They'll say, "Well,
no, but let me just get to this point." So, but see, the problem. What happened is after he earned his degree, for him, like after being on welfare
get
for
off the
10
tit.
years, to get off the tit and get to that into that normal hustle and bustle.
He just lost 10 years of self-sufficiency.
Bro.
Yeah.
It was impossible. Like he couldn't keep a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And eventually, most of the time you develop a drinking habit because you have all this extra money that is coming in. You have little to no expenses. Everything is taken care of for you.
Especially your rent, $187.
If your rent is $187, including your utilities. You know what I mean? So
plus you're getting
now you pay. All you have to pay for is maybe cable.
And your kid's school is free because it's public school.
Is free because
your healthcare is paid for.
Your healthcare is paid for. So like, you have all this money. So eventually you start getting into these habits of like drinking all day and relaxing at home.
Yeah.
You do that for 10 years. You develop a muscle. It is very hard.
You lack thereof. You atrophy your muscle of work.
Exactly. Yeah. So now to get back into the workforce becomes an impossibility because now you're faced with all these bills coming in and all this type of thing. And sometimes when you hear this guy talk, it's like, man, I miss the days that I'm like, bro, you have a law degree.
Yeah.
You literally have a law degree.
I don't know how see. Here's the thing: is let's say I used to think you should wait till you're much older to like start a family and all that.
Right.
For even if you look at it just economically, people who start families younger typically retire younger with more money, and their kids are more successful because you have a young parent in the prime of their working career. Plus, it's a natural motivator.
Right.
So I feel it's the same way. So if you start working at 20, and maybe you've even worked as a teenager, like to me that first few jobs, it's basically just teaching you self-reliance and responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how about you, Phil. The first time you got like a paycheck that you earned, you didn't spend it the way that you would if you just got.
You know what though? Here's the situation with me is like I grew up with these immigrant parents that were super hard about school. School was your job.
Hungry, I'm guessing.
Right?
They wanted you to.
Yeah. They were very specific because they thought having a job would distract me from school.
Right.
So I wasn't able to. I literally was not allowed to get a job until my last year of high school.
Yeah.
I was 17, 18.
What about in the summer?
Not even in the summer. I was like the summer you had to do like fucking extracurricular.
But now when you have kids,
but let me tell you why this was a terrible thing. Is when I started working like when I was in university, like I had like little jobs here and there, but like I had also have to kind of supplement it. But see, the problem is like when I really started making a lot of money right out of school, I couldn't manage it.
You had never worked.
I had never even learned how to be able to save my own money.
Right.
Plus,
and that takes a long time.
Yeah, it takes a long time. Plus, I come from a family where like money is kind of like this taboo thing that people don't really talk about, right? So I kind of had to learn on my own, and it was very rough at the beginning. Like I was, like I remember like points.
How old are you now? Sorry, you're in your 30s.
I'm 30 now.
30 now,
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember when I was like 21, 22, when I was like just getting into finance and all these type of things. Like there was times I was making like $2,500 a week. But I would be broke
by the end of the week.
Can you imagine that? Like that's like
I can because I
there's people who have mortgages and raising families on that type of money a month.
Yeah.
And I was literally going broke
because you hadn't and now you've I find too a lot of experiences of failing and going, that not only was that a stupid idea, but I knew it was a stupid idea, and now I'm seeing the consequences of the stupid idea of spending money.
Right. No, because
but
I didn't have that saving thing put into me. So
or even not even
like, oh yeah. next week's check is coming.
Yeah.
So I could.
And imagine if you didn't work for that check, you just knew a check was coming.
Yeah, so
you
it's even worse.
So in relation to your friend, it's like if you like I had I used to do close-up magic when I was a kid. Yeah. And then professionally. When I was a teenager, no one gets laid from that. So I did, like weddings and parties and stuff like that. So that was like kind of my first thing I ever got paid for, where I went, oh, I worked at this arguably useless skill, but it's entertainment. Right. And now I'm seeing that it's like I got that idea of like, oh, if you learn a skill and there's a demand for it and you work at it, right. At least I got that sense of it. And then I my first like job was at this like breakfast diner, and he first hired me to like, because they have huge lines, so I would entertain people while they're waiting for their seats. Right. Within like 2 weeks, it turned into like I'm a busboy. Right. So I quit that job, and then when I was in the summer, so the company my grandpa owned, I would work there. So my mom had a deal with me. Where we had money saved up for college and stuff. Right. And looking back, I wish I had never gone to university. Honestly, I wish I went to a trade school. Right. And there's not, especially having like one arm, I don't like using it as an excuse much. Right. But
did you graduate?
Yeah. I have a degree somewhere in what communications. Yeah. I don't even know what it is.
Hey, you're using it right now, aren't you? You could have been like, I was doing this.
Communications had nothing to do. We had like one thing on public speaking, which I've been doing since I was 9. Right. I didn't need a fucking class on public speaking. And so I kind of just felt like it was a thing I had to do. Right. Anyway, so we made a deal where I would work like 40 hours a week. And then at the end of each week, I would take half my paycheck, or like 60% of my paycheck, in cash, hand it to my mom, and we'd write it down. And then by the end of by the summer, that my tuition, I think, was. See, we also had to rent a laptop. That was mandatory. Right. So that was $1,000 a year to rent a fucking Lenovo.
Why couldn't you bring your own?
You could, but it was now the school has changed the policy where you can opt out of it.
Right. So you could bring your own laptop, but you had to rent one from the school.
Yeah, you could have never touched that. The only time you had to use it is they had a lockdown function on it. So if you did a test, you had to be in class and you couldn't open up any other things. Right. Also, if you were doing a quiz online, you had to use a lock. So whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so that in total was pretty much $10,000 a year. Wow. I had saved up $6,000. Right. And I had, I was still living at home. Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
UOIT, Oshawa. Yeah. And I obviously not everyone has the ability to do that. Right. But even if I was getting like an OSAP loan, right, I still would have worked that summer, because now I don't have to spend. See, here's the thing with OSAP is they give you only have to pay back $7,000. Right. But they're not hesitant. It's not like getting a loan. They're not looking at your liability. Right. They'll give you whatever you can do. Some loose calculations. My friend got so much from them. Oh yeah. Yeah, and like for living expenses and all this stuff, and then blew like $2,000 in like a month on nothing to do with any of that. Right. Which I've seen a lot of people do. And then so again, the OSAP, you treat it like this free money. So even if I was using OSAP, I would have only taken out what I needed. Right. And then I would have used the rest of the money I made to pay it back, or to pay for the rest of tuition. Right. And so OSAP it's a trap. And even university now is becoming a trap, especially living on campus. Don't live on campus, people. Like,
you know what I don't like about this whole university.
The university experience is you get drunk with people that you're never going to talk to ever again, and then maybe get chlamydia and a bunch of morning after pills as Tic Tacs.
That comes with the package. But it's funny because we're talking about the whole like going to school thing. I was watching Last Week Tonight with John Oliver last night. And there was this episode
British
about he's hilarious, bro. I don't know why you hate the guy, but like there was this episode about who are these people who do coroners? It's about like death investigators. Uh-huh. So apparently in the States, so a death, okay, so there's a difference between a coroner and a medical examiner, right? So apparently a medical examiner does have to have some sort of medical experience, but a coroner is actually elected. It's an elected position. So there is some places in like fucking Kansas and Missouri and whatever where the coroners there were like waitresses and fucking like, you know what I mean, like waitresses, like bartenders, firefighter, like people with absolutely no medical experience whatsoever.
What is the job of a coroner?
So a coroner, pretty much like when somebody dies, they come in and, you know, they examine exactly, you know, they try to figure out why this person died, right? And then they do, and then they sign off on a death certificate, right? So
is that after the medical examiner?
No. So if they have, some places just have a coroner. So you have some fucking ex-waitress show up to try to figure out if you were murdered or not. You know what I mean?
So what you're saying is government elected positions are not always the best.
Not in that case. Not in that fucking case. I don't want some fucking waitress showing up trying to figure out if I got stabbed. And then sometimes, too, it gets out of hand because there was, I forget the name of the town, but the coroner was also the sheriff. So there was this one case where this guy got taken into custody and then 3 hours later got found behind the police station inside a burnt car. And the guy was fucking burnt to smithereens. And the coroner was like, no, the cops had nothing to do with that. The guy was his dad. We just don't know.
And that's when police was great.
No, but like think about it. Like see, and that's where it becomes like a huge problem.
I am joking, by the way.
Yeah, because this guy now, who's the sheriff, obviously he doesn't want his department being accused of. He's probably the one who gave the order to go put this motherfucker in the car.
That would imagine though if actually it wasn't them and he immediately just went, oh, they're gonna know it. They're gonna think it's us.
No, but how do you explain that?
I know they did it, but that would be a great movie.
Yeah, the case ended up getting reopened and actually classified as a homicide. But like it took 4 years.
And then especially if like the FBI gets involved and then
then it just fucking gets out of hand. But like so I was telling that's where like that's one position where I felt like the motherfucker dealing with that should go to school. Get all the OSAP you need.
No, that's the thing for school is if like my sister is becoming a doctor.
Right.
So now she's in you go to 4 years of university and then you go into your medical school and then all the other crap you have to do. Our university though, the first 4 years pretty much cost the same. Mine might have been more because of the dumb laptop.
For her BA, for her bachelor's.
Yeah, right. And we both have it. The thing is, mine is useless, and this isn't, you know, from watching videos. I saw this shit unfold like right when I got out of university. Is when I started discovering people who were. That was my foot in the door. That was my little like red pillish moment. Mm-hmm. It was just learning about the stuff that I had learned and putting it into sense.
Right.
So I spent 4 years learning about. So every class you would have one whole. So like say you do 12 weeks for each class. That's about a semester. Mm-hmm. Almost every class of the 12 weeks, each one of the weeks you'd have, so a whole class, 3 hours, the feminist perspective, the Marxist perspective, the postmodern perspective, and the...
In every class? So like what kind of feminist perspective do you need on calculus? Is this
no, I didn't take... you're not letting me finish. Yeah. So this is because I took a bullshit program that are becoming very popular, and they're the ones that institute the, like, you know, diversity board and the... giant administration costs and shit that makes prices just go through the roof. Right. So that's the thing. And that's why I think you should take time to wait. I think you should work. I think you should learn about, and like, why don't schools teach us about managing money? Well, one of the best ways to learn about managing money is manage the money when you're not, 30 years old with kids, and now you're learning to manage money. Learn to manage money after high school. Work for a year.
Right.
That's something that is with the parents. I think a lot has been put onto the school. like when they say, well, what is sex ed going to be taught by parents? It's like, it was, and then the school said, we'll do it, and then 3 generations later, the parents are like, well, I don't want to have that awkward conversation. The school will cover it, and then when they go, wait, the school's telling them what?
Yeah, no.
So,
but you know what though? Like,
let me finish this thought.
Yeah.
So, if you're going, my suggestion to any young person who might be listening is try to work for a little bit. If you have a passion for something you want to do and it requires an actual accreditation,
right,
go for that. And if you change your mind, don't, like, again, when I was in 3rd year, I was like, I don't want to do this, but I'm already 3 years in.
You're too deep.
Which I wasn't. I could have saved, 10 grand and started doing stand up earlier, and I could have. If you have that feeling of I'm not liking this, maybe try to change program, figure something out, go to a different college, trades, whatever. Mm-hmm. Just know that you're either going to school for you should have a goal. So if that goal is just to learn about history, you need to go into it knowing that you're spending money just to learn about history, and it's not gonna.
Are you
pay
not
off.
entertained? Yeah. No, but like, you know what though? Like, when it comes to the school system, there is there are a few, because I feel like the current school, especially the North American school system, was built to create
workers,
employees,
not
right?
just
like,
employees, like factory workers.
Yeah, no, because you have the bell, you have also, like, remember when you were a kid, and especially I'm sure kids like you and I, we were very often class clowns, right? Like, I
brought a fart machine to school and almost.
So when your teacher turned on you and started giving you shit for talking in class, I don't think that person wanted you to be antisocial. I think it was caused by a system that, like, picture this, like, if you're working at a Coca-Cola factory.
Yeah.
And bottles are going by on that conveyor belt.
And you
turn around and you talk to your neighbor, defective product could go by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's what the system.
That's true. Like, that's not what that is what school was designed. The guy
But also here's another thing too.
It's accurate.
I don't feel like the system is designed to be able to teach everybody. I feel like the way it's designed, like, only, for example, kids who are visual learners. Because one thing that for example, that I learned in self psychology, and I did not learn that at school, I learned it on the job. They teach you that every client that you sit across has a way that they process information. So, for example, some people are visual, some other people are auditory. Auditory is somebody. No, it varies, man. It varies.
But men are a lot more. They're a lot more. So instead of reading, they're either very reading and auditory, or you're very visual and tactile.
Right. So, but see, here's the thing too, that there is also a whole other set of people that they teach you about who are kinesthetic, right? So meaning that they feel things. So what they will teach you on the job is they'll teach you how to use language to be able to speak to the person, but also how to be able to pick up how the person processes information by observing how their eyeballs move and then adjust as you go. You know what I mean? So I feel like the system, the school system, the moment, for example, where you are, let's say, a kinesthetic, a kid who learns kinesthetically instead of visually or auditory, they will call you special needs, and they put you in these kind of special classes where now they kind of like, okay, this person is no longer in our, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the whole, and that's what the whole thing falls on itself, because I don't think learning itself as a concept is a bad thing.
No, yeah.
Because the way that information is put across, and also the cost of it too, it's a little bit exaggerated.
Well, here's my view of education for especially young kids is like what you're talking about with. That's why a lot of boys tend to do much more poorly in school than girls do, pretty much from elementary through high school, especially in high school. A lot of it is the structure of it. So you notice all the kids that did really well in your high school, they all had a certain way of
that they carry themselves. They were quiet,
and there's nothing wrong with that. But then there were the kids that you knew weren't dumb, and if you're not being challenged properly,
right?
If you're being taught something in a certain way that maybe you're not even that interested in, which doesn't help at all. But even if you're interested in it, if you're being taught something a certain way, you get this feeling of like just helplessness, like I can't figure this out. And also, if you're being taught things that you're not being like your brain needs stimulation to learn and grow. That's like if you leave your dog with no mental stimulation, they start to just fucking go crazy. And when kids are younger, so I leaned a lot towards speaking, entertaining, that sort of. So my school didn't necessarily, I didn't go into like a class for that, but we'd have, this, like we had speech contests, and I would literally like win it every year from grade 3 to 8. And so that was a way that and my teachers, there was a line between me being disruptive and me,
coming into your own self type thing.
Yeah. And like me learning to figure stuff out on my own. And like so when I would so the teachers I had, I went to like a Montessori school.
Oh, you went to a Montessori school?
Yeah.
Nice.
I still didn't have great grades. The last 2 years of high school I went to a public school. My grades didn't change at all. I've basically been a B guy.
B guy for
and that was back in elementary school. And we had to take exams in elementary. No other. So when I hit grade 5, they're like, okay, only grade 5 to 8 is going to take exams. And then I got to grade 7. Only 7 and 8 are going to take exams. But I had exams from grade 2 onward. Yeah. That amount of stress when you're that young.
Bro, trust me.
Trying to remember.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Your memory sucks when you're 7.
Bro, listen, like my mother, okay, when I was growing up, and mind you, just to remind the listeners, I grew up in a country with no child services, okay? So if you were not able to learn by simple transmission of information, violence will teach you. You know what I'm saying? And it was not only like at home, it was at school too, because teachers were very much allowed to fucking get extremely violent with you. So like, but in same exact thing, right? Like, so not only like we had exams, like you're saying, from like grade 1 all the way through, but we had graduations every trimester. So meaning, like, you see how you see your high school graduation? Yeah. Imagine that every 3 months. And not only that, now all the parents are gathering, and so
they see if you didn't do it.
Well, buddy, like, listen, parents will come, right? So every trimester they will hand out report cards, right? So the way it would work, so let's say you are in your 5th grade class. So let's say there is 3 5th grade class, right? Yeah. So all the 5th graders are out there, right? So you first come out, let's say you have 5th grade A, B, class A, class B, class C, and class D, right? So the 5th grade all go, and like we go into this massive, this massive gymnasium. Kind of like there wasn't even a gymnasium. This was so it first was start outside, like this would be outside, like in like a soccer field type of thing, right? So all the parents are sitting there. So the top 5 of every class will get handed their report cards outside in front of all the parents, and then the remainder will go back to the class to get handed the rest of your report cards, right? So not only that, like imagine as a parent, you're sitting there be like, this motherfucker is embarrassing me right now in front of all the other parents. You know what I mean? So like if you're the parent of the kid who's in the top 5, who'll get handed his fucking report card outside, everybody applauds, and then you go back into the class.
It's a lot of pressure.
Bro, every 3 months, bro. Every 3 months you have to go
We would do those at the end of each year, but it was a lot more, it was more, see, it's one thing to, like, punishment works for stopping certain behavior. It doesn't help with learning new ones. Yeah. Like, imagine if, like, I always like thinking of it from, like, training a dog or something. Right. If you just keep telling your dog no or responding negatively for things it's doing, eventually it doesn't know what to do. Right. You need to reinforce the positives as well. Right. So in my school, we would have like awards and stuff like that, but we would all, and it wasn't all participation. Like I grew up at the cusp of
participation trophies.
Like when I played sports, we kept score. No one got if you held your participation trophy, if you got one with any sort of pride, you were cut. But they would have, I think the biggest for kids is like most improved, because it shows kids that it's not about how you start, it's how you end. So I got most improved in what class was it? It wasn't French, because I was always kind of bad at French. It might have been. I'm not sure. It was a long time ago. But anyway, when you get that most improved, it's not like you got the best grade, and it's not like it's basically
you were shit before.
It showed you and other kids, and the teachers would make like a quick speech about how you weren't that good at this and you didn't put effort into it, and then you tried, and they do it to like all the parents.
Like that's an earned trophy, though. That's an
no.
Earned,
I did the participation thing just because I'm sure now they give every kid an award for. It's like the Dundies from The Office. Right? But it made you. So now you weren't just looking at, oh, that's the smart kid, he always wins. It's like, oh, I can achieve something even if I'm starting down here.
Right.
And I don't know why. That's the most motivational thing I think you can tell someone, is that through your own actions,
you have bettered yourself.
Every action has a consequence, and that consequence could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
And I don't know why now that's considered some like super conservative-y type message. You know what I mean? Like then they always pull up by your bootstraps. And it's like, well, there's a reason that phrase. It was the phrase had to do with farmers, which was you put on your boots every day, no matter what, because you have things you have to do.
Right.
You have people you're responsible for and all this shit. And somehow that turned into like if you even mention the fact that someone's failure could potentially be their own fault, and that someone else's success at the same time like is there, like that everyone likes that story of the guy who pulled himself out of the hole. Right. But then when you bring up that someone failed because of their own decisions, it's contradictory in a weird way.
But do you know what it is though? Is also like that guy who pulls himself by. There is as many of those stories that people can take, because the moment it becomes a problem is when somebody feels like your success highlights their failures.
Yeah, and that's their own outlook on it too, though.
Yeah.
Right?
So
we've all been there. We've all had those moments of. That's why envy is one of the seven deadly sins, because it's not only bad for because it could lead to you killing the person or something extreme like that, but it damages your own life.
It damages your own self-confidence.
Yeah.
And then where it gets worse is when you start now looking at somebody's success as the reason why you're failing. Yeah. That is when it becomes, and in some cases things do happen where people step on other
when
people's
it's unearned success. I find, but then you could just say, well, that's like if one of your coworkers who's friends with the boss gets a promotion,
right,
and that you're better, you can either take that as, well, I'm going to prove to that guy that they should have picked me,
right, or I'm going to
just say fuck it and burn it down. And
see, I used to deal with it like when I was in stand up, right? When I first started stand up, because especially in the Toronto stand up community, there is quite a bit of politics in it.
There's a lot of like favoritism and
right. But see, here's the thing to me when I got into it. See, because I knew that I wasn't going out as much as the other guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like that too.
Yeah. So then sometimes you see a kid or getting stage time, whatever it is, and you're just kind of like, why the fuck does this guy get to go up and I don't, right? Now, I could have laid there and been like, oh, I could have been there and been like, oh, shit, this is this. Maybe it's because I'm black, it's because of that. But see, my decision, the decision that I made, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be so fucking good that it would just be undeniable. Because I understood why. Because obviously, if there is somebody that you see every day, you're more likely to want to favor them, of course, because this guy, even if he's not that good, or whatever.
Even just being friendly to.
Being friendly to the other. That's another thing too that I didn't have, is because like I was also. It took me a while to be able to find comics that I had something in common with. Sometimes like you know, and also like, you know, you pull up to shows, you're pulling up in a Porsche, like some of the guys look at you kind of funny, and it's just kind of, you know what I mean? Like there is like that thing is like, oh, he's not one of us type thing. Because remember we're talking about like the whole the fact that, you know, some guys like to rely on those jokes about being broke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People don't like. It's very hard to make success funny.
Yeah. So then like sometimes too, like I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like it was like a little bit like when I first started doing stand up, right? I used to go right after work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm showing up to doing these open mics, and I'm wearing a $3,000 suit. Guys are looking at me like, yo, this guy is who the fuck do you think you are, buddy? Like I used to get that a lot.
Yeah.
Then when I started kind of like dressing down and all these type of things, I'll come home first.
Or bring a change of clothes.
Yeah, bring a change of clothes, or all these kind of things. Like the attitude started changing.
Did
like,
you feel like you were being a bit disingenuous though?
No, I wasn't being disingenuous. I was unapproachable to some of these guys.
Oh yeah.
Right? I seemed unapproachable. Like he's not really one of us kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's like going to a park in a trench coat.
Yeah, right? Like so like I'll be out there having a cigarette, and like, you know, sometimes you want to go into the circle, whatever, but like it seems like the circle will move further and further away from you, right? But I never looked at it as like, oh, that's on them.
Yeah,
right.
That's something that you could proactively.
Yeah, it's something that I because and luckily because I work in a field where human psychology is a really huge dependent. So I was lucky enough to. But how many guys were in the same position ended up quitting stand up because dude, it can be cold out there, bro. When the guys
when you're down, when you're not feeling good about
just you feel like you're ostracized from the group.
I almost wanted to quit last week.
Last
week I came.
What happened?
No, just
danger room. Stay away from that place, bro.
No, it wasn't the danger room. It was just one, I was really just looking at. I'm like, well, why do I even want to do? Is it an ego thing, or or am I only getting a sense of success based on? That's essentially what you're doing. You're going up with a microphone and telling people like, I deserve to be on this stage right now, and they're like, we'll see. Right. And then I was pretty stoned when I was thinking about it too, and I was thinking about just all the when I went to university, we had a group on Facebook. We would share books and talk about did this. Who started this thing and blah, blah, like it was my whole program. And I always said, when I graduate, I'm going to get rid of Facebook. And then I didn't. And then right around when I graduated, I joined the Toronto stand-up thing. I never really did any shows, but I was still on there. And I was like, I need to know, this is a good tool for, I shouldn't get rid of Facebook and social media because you need it now to do stand-up. Right. And then I was just kind of looking at my life like, okay, because I used to think if I couldn't do stand-up, I wouldn't be happy. And then it turned into, well, what if, was that me saying if I don't make money or that's my living or that's all I do? Because I look at a bunch of comics and like, they don't have any real skills. Right. Especially actors. Like they don't, like I'm thinking like when I have a kid, I'm like, what if I want to teach him how to build something, right? Or what if I want to, show them how to do stuff. Like if your dad's a comedian, you're not learning shit all except for, my dad's immature. That's basically it. So it was me just trying to find this balance of, what does it mean to be a comedian? What does success mean? What does family? All of this stuff was just pouring into my head. Right. And another part of it was, do certain comics just outright hate me and don't want to book me, and because I got all conspiracy in my own head, but that's happened to comedians, and it's one thing if it happens to you when you have like a fan base. Right. If you're just starting out and you get ostracized from a community, remember we were talking about the winter thing with white people. Right. When you get when you're in a very high trust mindset. You get ostracized. Oh yeah, it could bring you down. It can ruin you. But I think it's a Boyd, question. Like Boyd. I don't want to say his full name, but Boyd. Oh yeah. Like have you heard of him? No, I haven't actually. No. I know who the guy is. But I haven't heard. Have you? I haven't. I'm not out probably that much, but who knows what he's going through. You know what I mean? Fuck. So, but like, see, to me, like, it's funny you brought it up. You're like, what is my definition of success? When I got into stand up. Is like when I first moved to Canada, right?
I didn't speak a word of English, right? So I learned from watching movies and watching stand-up comedy.
Well, how old were you when you moved here again? You were like
I was
9?
no, I was 16, turning 17.
Oh, you were a teenager.
Oh,
Shit.
dude, yeah, and that shit sucks. Like,
Yeah, when
going
you're
to
that
grade
old?
11 in high
Yeah.
school, bro. And also, you have to understand too. I'm coming from a country where, you know, like my parents were very wealthy back home, and you know, there was a certain. I was always that cool guy. Now suddenly, I'm moving to a place where not only my family no longer has any money, and I don't speak the language. Right? So not only I'm having to like catch on to, you know, the culture, and you know, high school culture too, it's very easy to kind of like, you get very much, if you're in those ESL classes and shit like that, it can be very quickly you feel like you don't belong, right?
Yeah.
But stand-up was always one of those things that I really enjoyed. And I also come from a
So
family.
did you watch a lot of stand-up when you were learning English?
Yeah, a lot of it. And also I come from a family of really funny guys. Like my uncles are really fucking funny people, like hilarious guys. So, but I remember the feeling that I got the first time I was on stage, right? And you know what? It was amateur night at Absolute Comedy. I had signed up for this thing like a month ahead of time, and during that month, I was practicing the fuck out of that set. And I killed them. Now I look back at the set.
You did good for your first time.
Yeah. I look back at the set and I cringe a little bit. Like the speed at which I'm talking, because there was that nervousness.
Yeah.
And but it was a really well written bit. The delivery was kind of a little shaky, but people were laughing. It was really good.
It's enough.
Yeah, and I remember too, like getting off stage, and the guy who like I did Yuck Yucks and Absolute the same week. They're amateur at the same week, back to back. And I remember this guy. His name is I forget his name. He's one of the big managers of Funny Business Inc. The guys that own all the Yuck Yucks. And I remember him coming to me. He's like, dude, like you're starting out, but I can tell you were very skilled. Like and this guy obviously, you know, he knows his shit. It's been a comedy business. But him sitting me down, he's like, if you're willing to put 10 years into this thing consecutively without, you know, hoping for some crazy results, you're gonna make it. He's like, I can tell you're gonna make it. Put in your 10 years. So at that point, because now I'm like year 8, right? And just due to that, it has allowed me to kind of really go into it with no insane expectations. Of course, I still put myself out there. Yeah. But I'm like, at least the least I can do is put in my 10. Let me put in my 10. Yeah. You know what I mean? And see what, and then go from there. But then eventually now I'm at a point.
A lot of it too is not even just how there's so much. There's other parts to like the business of it that you have to like learn and network and all this stuff that's has nothing to do with being funny.
I feel like that comes after that comes because I was who said that in an interview? I think it was what's his name? The guy, he just had a Netflix special. He was on Joe Rogan. What's his name? Anthony Jeselnik. Yeah. So he was saying that stand-up is not something that you are born or you're good at. It's something that you hone. Right, through time. And of course I can watch, you know, I have a lot of videos and stuff like that, or watch like my sets that I was doing maybe 3-4 years ago, and the way the delivery now, the comfortability on stage and all these type of things. And I feel like that progress there is what really gets me going, because I can look, there is a timeline that I can look at and be like, I am definitely getting better at this as I go. And also I have kind of like this thing where do you ever have those nights where you go on stage and you kill, and as the show is ending, everybody's coming to you being like, dude, you're fucking great. See, like, to me, that's success to me at stand-up.
But again, that was when I was thinking about that, is like, am I getting my self-value from others, which is a very unhealthy thing.
But stand-up is all about getting value from others. Like,
I know, that was the realization I had of like, what, and I was just trying to look into, like, also when I started doing stand-up, I didn't think I would want to marry anyone or have kids or. Right. And I think it's really stupid when comedians are like, you got a girlfriend and stop doing comedy and all this stuff, and it's like some of the best comedians are married with kids and are older and have real life. If all you do is just, you know, watch stuff and then do stand-up, one, you have no real insight.
Right.
you don't relate to people because you don't do
'Cause
normal
you
people.
don't
You don't do
live.
normal
You
people
don't
things.
live. You're
no
not
one relate.
living.
Most people don't relate to
What you're saying.
traveling.
Right.
Most people when they travel, it's once in a while for a vacation, maybe a business trip once a year.
Right.
A lot of the things that comics do aren't relatable, so you're just there to like deliver the thing.
Right.
People when they're watching don't realize that being a stand-up comedian is such a different sort of life.
Right.
And so when I hear all this shit about like, oh, you got married and kids, you're not. I'm like, some of the hardest working comedians I know who start when they're like 40.
Yeah.
Joe Patello, shout out to him. I don't agree with him on anything political.
Right.
That doesn't matter. He's a fucking great dude, heart of gold.
Right.
He's got 2 children. One's autistic, and he's a great dad. He started when he was older.
Right.
And he not only is he funny, but he's a great dude, and he found that like balance, and he's got real skills.
You know
He's
what, dude?
Portuguese,
You-
construction worker. He fucking knows how to do
You
shit.
actually fucking nailed it. I was actually having this conversation with a comic at a show last night.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like, in order to really write grabbing material, first of all, let me address something that you said about like asking validation from other people.
Self-worth from others.
Right. See, to me, like, I don't think it's asking people to validate me. I am offering them a product. Actually, the reason why I love stand-up is because it's the closest thing to justice. If it's good, if they get it, they'll laugh.
No, I
If
agree
they
with
don't
that
like
completely.
it, they won't like.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't see people laughing or not laughing at my jokes as a way for
Right. them
them repudiating me. It's just either they're not identifying with it, or that shit is just not funny. But what we're talking about like people being able to identify with material. I've lived through this very specifically, and it's a lesson that I had to learn like a little bit early in my stand-up career. I used to have this bit about rubbing tugs, right? So, and I would do it, let's say, for example.
Were they African rubbing tongues?
No. The motherfuckers in Kensington Market, there's Chinese bitches out here. So I would do that joke, let's say, for example, at like a corporate function, right? And it would absolutely kill because these motherfuckers understand the concept of paying $70 for a hand job at lunchtime. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I would do the same exact material in front of a college audience, for example, and everybody is looking at me like a dog looking at a spoon. They have no fucking idea of what I'm talking about. So what you were talking about like, having a girlfriend and having kids and it's actually one of the best, like some of my most killer material.
And it's also good for life. It's good for your life.
That is so. Yes, it gives you some sort of like some sort of balance because we fucking live in bars, especially when you blow up. You in bars every single night. If you don't have that kind of balance, you either end up ODing on some shit or you can't fucking work.
Yeah, like a lot of the but a lot of like the successful comedians, you might be jealous of like, oh, he's doing this insert whatever, and then you're just sort of like, oh, you don't really have anyone. Yeah,
but here's the thing though. But like we're talking about like kid material. So like I have this solid 10 minutes about. I think the bid that I did on at Yuck Yucks.
I have such a bad memory.
Yeah, no, but like the whole thing is about me turning 30 and being in heat and having baby fever, but also not liking babies in my 24 X and Y reason and. I've never had, like, no matter where I do it, no matter the room, no matter, it kills all the time because people can identify with it. Kids, dogs.
And even the people who are young who don't have kids, they can identify with being scared of kids.
Yeah, being scared of kids. So it kills everywhere. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Do you ever talk about, do you ever do stuff about, like, the genocide on stage?
It depends. It depends where. Like,
I'll help you work on a bit for it.
Yeah,
I'm good at taking stuff that's tragic and making it quick. Because the best part for that is while you're telling the story, you have to inject bits of funny.
Right. No, then, I did. For example, I emceed the Toronto Nigerian Film Festival. Okay. It's like a derivative of TIFF. But they had where they do like Nigerian movies or whatever. So they had like a gala, and in that space,
they're like, you're the closest to a Nigerian comedian we could find.
No, not only that, dude, I'm hilarious. Like, what are you talking about?
Just fucking.
No, but like, yeah. So no, but doing like African material and stuff like that about the war and all these type of things. I would do it in that aspect. Like, for example, for me to go, like, at the corner on a Thursday and talk about how, whenever in Africa, the way that we know that shit is about to go down is when white people start leaving. You know what I mean? Because what happens in times of war, like Canada, let's say, for example, if you and I went, to Rwanda on vacation, and, some shit popped off, Canada is going to send a plane for you, my brother. You know what I'm saying? They'll come in and they'll take their expatriates, fly them out, and be like, okay, y'all niggas go ahead and kill each other then.
Yeah.
But see, like, people who never kind of like really been familiar with that kind of thing, so the material doesn't resonate as well. And I tend to be one of those guys who come in, like, and that's where I feel like I'm getting much better at this. I could come in, for example, with a preset set that I'm gonna do that night, but then I will look around and be like, I don't think that's gonna work. But I have something else in the chamber that I can be like, okay, let's switch this thing up and go from there type thing.
The thing with that though is,
it comes with time though. It comes with time.
Like I find a way to make having one arm seem relatable.
Right.
So if you can draw comparisons and even just explain things very quickly, because no one, like we were talking about the genocide, you don't want to get into crazy details.
Too gory details.
Not even gory, but just like all the technicalities and then you could do a quick one. So you talk about, let's say we have the Hutus and the Tutsis, and then you could just say that would be like if blank.
Yeah.
But quickly, you can't be too long with that.
You can't go into like the effects of colonialism.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you're telling this as a story, you can tell it as a story or just as like a bit. So a story will have a beginning, middle, and end. If you're telling it just as a bit, the bit is, imagine like more of a web of just things coming out of one central versus a straight line that goes on little tangents.
Right.
So if I'm telling a story about something, and I need to get the audience to relate to something, that's when you make a comparison, and then you go on with the story, and you need to have the turning point of the story, and then you need to have the end of it.
Right. But that's why, honestly, like I am so tired of doing 5-6 minute sets.
Yeah.
Because like, I know there's certain bits.
You think you are? I have to explain why I have one arm for the first minute of it.
Yeah, imagine, right? And also too, like when you're doing stand up, it's not just about also what you're saying; it's how you're saying it. It's the little pauses, like pausing.
You got to get them on board with you too,
right? Like being able, like let's say for example, being able to tell a joke and let it sit, because the moment you drop a punchline, right? And you don't stop for people to be like, because that moment you stop is where people kind of really register it and laugh, right? So if you're trying to rush through the material for you to fit it all in that form, you're not giving people time to really take it in. Because when you pause is when they're like, oh, I think this is where he expects us to laugh. What did he say? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or even if it's halfway through, you need to know when to pause even in the middle of your sentence, because sometimes you'll have a very subtle joke in the middle of the sentence,
right?
So
like if you don't let it breathe, they don't get it.
Yeah, sometimes you have to just sit there and let it, and then if they don't respond, you can maybe point out why that should have been funny, or
right, but you don't have time to do
that. But if you say something that you don't know is funny and you start getting a laugh,
right?
Even just like I tend to use my face a lot.
Right, me too.
You have bigger eyes, which will make it easy. I have tiny little stupid eyes.
The guy does have tiny little fucking eyes.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's bad. And fuck, what was I gonna say? It had to do with winning over a crowd. Also, when you only have 5 minutes.
Right.
If you're doing 15. It's
hard to be funny in 5 minutes.
There's certain things.
Unless you do one-liners. Guys who do one-liners?
I think it's easy to be very funny in 5 minutes.
If you're doing one-liners.
No, you haven't. No. I think it's very easy if you know what you're doing. 15 minutes is difficult because
I love it.
But then 15 minutes is where you can either lose them or you once they're on your side and they understand, like certain jokes you have to put later in a set.
Right.
So if you only have 5 minutes, you better, if you want to do that joke, and maybe if it's a 4-minute bit, you have a minute to make sure they're on your side.
Right.
And if you're not getting like a nice, you should probably just abandon it.
Right.
Because unless they're liking you, they're not gonna want to sit on board for a 4-minute bit. There's a lot of on stage tweaking that you do. I've never done like a set either the same order or saying the same thing, or I never do it the same, and it's not intentional. It's not me trying to find the best way to do it. It's just how I feel like doing it in that moment.
For example, that's why that show in Ajax, I'm gonna be doing it every Sunday because first of all, it's 10 minutes.
I'll go next time.
Yeah. So like it's 10-minute sets, and the guy, I forget his name, but he's very also liberal. If you're good and the audience is in on it, like he will actually let you expand. See, to me, like,
I do know him.
Yeah, to me, like last night, for example, I absolutely killed, and everybody was like, most of the guys, like before I went on stage, everybody was complaining, oh, the Raptors game just came on, they're not with us. Yeah, they're not with us.
I also thought it was starting I thought the show was also starting.
The show usually starts at 9.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be starting, and I'm like, there's no point.
Yeah, no, but like, but when I went on stage, right, because I was like, I had the 10 minutes, so I had this this one long bit that I do, like, about kids, and then I added onto it about, about some new material that I was trying out. But it absolutely killed because I was comfortable enough not to feel rushed. I could let.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, I could let my, you know what I mean? Like,
my girlfriend can always tell if I've rushed.
Yeah, you can interact, like, but I've had times when you're trying to do like a bid that, let's say you wrote for like a 6-7 minute showcase, but you are these fucking open mics where they're like, we got 25 people on the list, we'll light you at 3 minutes. And also you don't want you don't want to anger the fucking host, because now this motherfucker will never put you on again. I've had fallout. With a couple of guys who were like, "Fuck you, dude!" Like, you went 4 or 5 minutes over, and I absolutely murdered.
But they see that as you being greedy.
Yeah, you being greedy.
Did you apologize after?
Of course I did, but
that's on them.
Yeah, I even mentioned the name, bro. Like, this guy, I don't know if you know who Ronan Gisler is.
Especially if you bring up the fact that, like, dude, I think I went a bit long.
Yeah,
I find if you're the one who brings it up.
Yeah, but I've done it to him like 2-3 times.
Oh, then that's your fault.
But
that's your fault.
But it also, but it wasn't that bad because like the audience was in on it.
It doesn't matter though. That's the unwritten rule.
Yeah, no. I understand. And you know what? Whatever. I guess that's the price to pay, because I wanted to do the full. I wanted to do the full bit. It does the price to pay. Does the price to pay.
Yeah.
But
you should also work on having. So there's a comedy club in Thunder Bay. They have a great thing, which is just a timer.
Right.
So you can constantly see, like I was middling there, so I was doing like 25, 30 minutes.
Right.
So you look up, you go, okay, I'm halfway through. I have time. And then, so your closing bit, but also if you get the light and you have a minute left, you should work on ways to have a shorter version of the joke.
Right.
Like how much fat can I trim? Not because it's bad, because you need to get to the end. Or just know a bit that you have, or a joke that will take about a minute.
Right.
And so when I get that light, depending on how far I am through a story, I know, okay, if I don't say this part, the end doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So this part I need to say. This part maybe I'll say quickly. I won't milk it as much.
Right.
And I always try to go even a little bit under.
Right. But see, to me, like the way that I write jokes, right? Like you said, if I cut something out of the bid, there is a chance that the shit at the end won't be able to.
You gotta make that call though.
Yeah, it won't be able to make sense. So then,
because that's all on you. Because that's not a valid excuse of, well, I didn't have time to finish the bit, and it's like, that's on you. Right. Like, that's like if the shot clock runs out, and then he's like, I didn't have time to make the 3.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, well.
No, but also most of the time too, when and that's what we're talking about. When you're 2 seconds away from the shot clock running out, most of the time, if you're under that kind of pressure, you miss the shot. Because I'll give you an example. Like,
Or it's a heroic ending that makes every highlight real.
Yeah, but very rarely does that happen.
The audience doesn't know there's a shot clock.
You saw fucking, Kawhi yesterday. Like, he had the chance of closing it off in the first overtime. It was not the same glorious moment that he had.
Also, it's because that was Game 7, and that's why it was glorious.
Yeah. But to the point that to the thing that we're talking about is, like, I remember when was it? It was like a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I even caught myself rushing on stage, and I'm one of those people that, like, when I start feeling that way, my whole delivery is off.
You get in your own head.
I get in my own head, and I'm just like, let me just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like fucking, oh man, like it's just, this could have went so much better. But yesterday was a very revealing moment for me when, because I had all this space to kind of be able to really let the material go in, walk around, sip on my drink, get back to, and I really felt like I feel like I haven't had for a while, unless I'm doing like, once or twice a year, I would get like those 15, 20-minute bookings or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, man, like fucking, yeah, man, it was just different yesterday, bro. It felt good. It felt fucking, and the audience, the way they responded,
it re-energizes you too.
Yeah, man, it was like, I was like, fuck, man, I gotta go back out tonight. But it's the corner now, so fuck, All right, you ready to get into some weird news, buddy?
Yeah, lay it on.
Okay, so let's see what we got this week. Cow kissing challenge in Austria. So an Austrian government official is having a cow over a bizarre Swiss app challenge, urging followers to kiss bovines to raise money for charity. The Kuss challenge, spelled Kuhkuss challenge.
Probably how you cow kiss.
It's in German, yeah. I thought it was Ku Klux first when I read it, but
cow cuss.
The Cow Cuss challenge launched earlier this week on the Castle app, CASTL, and it urges users in Switzerland and Austria and other German-speaking countries to kiss cows with or without tongue. I think they specify that. To raise charity funds, as reported by Agence France Presse. Elisabeth Kostinger, Austria's Minister for Sustainability and Tourism, called the challenge dangerous mischief.
Shit.
She warned that pastures are not petting zoos and that trying to kiss cows could have serious consequences.
How would this even... when you do like... Terry Fox run, and you're like, I'll give you $10 per lap. Do you go around and be like, I'll give you $20 per cow that you kiss?
I try.
How the fuck does that raise any money?
I don't know. I tried to look into it. Apparently, this app, the way it works is you sign up and then people challenge each other, and then you get like a certain amount of stars, and then that's equivalent to X amount of money. Like I would have to look into it. But this app has a way that they, that they figure it out. I guess that. Whatever the pictures of people post or whatever it is, like, translate. But it's just kind of like, dude, how fucking bored are you?
Man, people think only like Americans are dumb and like Europe's got their shit figured.
No, these motherfuckers, like, you out here, like, if you ever get like fucking trampled by, imagine becoming paralyzed. Because you got kicked in the head by a fucking cow you're trying to kiss.
If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it to like one of those Kobe cows that are just super like drunk and
you know what I mean? Just listening to classical music all day, waiting to...
I can't picture some roided up German cow.
Bro, there was, in this article, there was a part of it that mentioned how this one lady out in the French Alps went out for a hike with her dog and got fucking trampled by this cow, that she became brain damaged, and the court ordered the farmer to pay the husband. No, the lady died.
Why were they walking in the farmer's farm?
I don't know. The farmer appealed the court's decision, but like he was, I think he was ordered to pay close to almost $1 million to the husband of the lady who's
Like if the cow got loose and thought like every human tries to kiss it, and now it's just attacking humans.
But
I gotta know where that like.
I don't know, man. This is only shit white people do, bro. That's just like these are the
dude
mountains.
In Brazil. They fuck donkeys, all right?
They fuck. Listen, they fuck. Look,
and that's not even an app challenge. That's just like
this is something that you do. In
they don't raise any money to
your,
fuck donkeys.
Exactly. This happens in the privacy of your own barn. You know what I mean? Like
wild donkeys.
Yeah.
If you look up Vice, is like old when Vice was good. Look up Vice donkey sex.
Like motherfuckers are out there trying to like catch donkeys.
The guy was like, you need to like, you need to, you can't scare them, and you have to. He's basically saying you have to like give the donkey foreplay. It was fucked up. It was the most fucked up thing I ever seen.
Going down on a donkey before.
No, I think he just used his hand.
I don't know.
And then the guy's wife was like, he needs to stop fucking donkeys. Like she knew about it, and then he tried like hiding it, so they blurred his face.
That's fucked.
It's really fucking.
Like who's out here? But like, what's like at what point? At what point is human pussy no longer enough? I feel like that's
when you've
some
had
sort
donkey.
Of like, no, but like I feel like even like the first time you try it, I feel like
think
it
of
has
the
to be some
smell.
sort of like
the fucking smell of a wild animal.
Maybe that's what they like. Maybe that's what they like is that it's that gross fucking.
It's like this weird cultural thing where like they were interviewing people who were like, this is very clearly fucked up, but it's just for some like it's like this weird rite of passage.
I think so too. I think it has
but then they keep doing it, right?
Well, yeah, maybe. Who knows though? We out here talking for all we ever had was human pussy. Who knows how donkey pussy feel?
No,
maybe donkey pussy could be goddamn fucking amazing.
Oh, did you see someone tried to come up with the term incest sexual? This woman is like fucking her brother, and it's like, well, yeah, when you just turn everything into a sexual orientation, eventually it'll be like I'm they'll make. Incest.
I'm bovine sexual. That is, we need our rights need to be.
There's already people in Britain who this British psychology, like through university, peer reviewed.
Right.
Depends who the peers are, and these people were basically saying how pedophilia, since it's a sexual orientation, shouldn't be like punished, especially if they haven't done anything wrong. And I'm just dude,
don't go there. Don't go there. But you know what though? Like, isn't it the same way that people like? I'm sure, if my great grandparent and yours had a podcast, they probably had the same exact views that we see on pedophilia when it comes to homosexuality. It wasn't that long ago that people felt that
two homosexuals agreeing to fuck each other in the ass is not the same as a man.
Of course, it's absolutely not the same.
No, but the thing is, they changed it from pedophilia being like an actual disorder to being a sexual orientation, and that way down the line when the law comes.
But see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Is like 50, 60 years ago, when homosexuality
right and wrong don't change.
No. But see, there was a time where people felt. Right. As strongly about homosexuality as we feel about pedophilia today. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like there's people who looked at it like, this is an abomination.
Right, but what's your point? Does that mean...
No, the point that I'm trying to say is who knows what through space and time where society is going.
That's the thing, though. If you start... Remember what I said about the generational thing?
Right.
It's not this generation. It's the next one that's going to think pedophilia is just a normal...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's going to come a time where, I don't know... not even that far.
And here's the difference between pedophilia and like gay sex is there's sin, and then there's something you should like be put to death for. Right. So every like if you're a Christian, you believe pretty much everyone sins and has to. So the whole thing that if you've ever had sex with a man, you're going to go to hell is kind of nonsense. That's just what those people who have the God hates fags. So that's just those are the crazy ones. The difference is that having sex with a child should and most likely will get you the death sentence. And
in what aspect though? I don't think pedophiles have been sentenced to death. Like where?
Yeah. And probably Texas, I'd imagine. If you fuck a kid, you can.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
No, only capital murder gets you. Like you will get a lot of fucking time in jail.
You'll probably You probably want to be murdered because you'll probably be kicked.
That's one thing that like even in jail, like you don't.
You'll
want
probably
that
get stabbed to death.
Oh my god, yeah. Like fucking a kid, even here in Canada, if you get accused, even of like. like remember I told you the story like with like my ex and shit, like fucking making those allegations. Even it like something as as unrelated as that. They still like when I was waiting to go to trial, when I was waiting to go to court and they hold you for like that whatever to go to for your bail hearing, they had to put me in protective custody because they're like,
that's the thing when you like the privacy of people being, once you're actually convicted, it's one thing. Right. That's why for certain cases you're not allowed to release the name or photographs of an ongoing case.
Right.
Like if someone gets arrested for it, you shouldn't, and the media still does.
Right.
I think it should be against the law.
Yeah,
because once he's in custody, it's one thing if there's an alert.
Yeah.
And they're saying like, we're looking for this guy.
Yeah.
But if you already have him in jail and he's going to be on trial,
right?
There's no reason.
No, but it's the people in jail. The reason why they put you in protective custody is the people in prison. They have their own rules and regulations about how they. How they go about it, right? And if that shit comes out, if they end up finding out, you fucking, maybe it's your first time in jail, they're like, yo, how did you get in here? And then they're like, this and this and this happened. You can get into some serious fucking altercations with these people.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. You have some of the worst people in the world in prison.
Yeah, but they have their own fucking
who all agree that guy should be put to death.
Yeah,
and if it's by us, then fine.
I don't
like if you're in prison already for life.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, depending, like, if you're a prison guard or and let's say you're fully convicted, child rapist, like serial child rapist, murderer, and there's what happens a lot of times is they'll use the cover of a riot to put a hit on someone.
Right.
So everyone has a, somewhat fake riot.
All right.
And, and it doesn't have to be a whole prison. It could just be a few people in the yard having a riot. And then as long as when the guards come and, you stop what you're doing, you're fine. But before they start shooting with rubber bullets and shit.
Yeah.
And then in that chaotic scenario, specific guy gets shanked.
And then they're like, okay, well.
And then if you're the warden, you're going to go, well, maybe we'll give him solitary for a day.
You know what? I was watching old episodes of Breaking Bad.
I love that show. I've seen it like 5 times.
Remember season 5 when he's trying to get the Mike's guys killed because they were going to testify? Like Hank was was zeroing in on him. And he hires those Nazi dudes to fucking organize within 2 minutes.
All of them across the country.
Across the country.
That's.
I was like, holy fuck, buddy. That's. But yo, speaking of prison guards, did you hear that story about this female guard out in?
In Toronto.
Yeah,
she was
out in
pregnant.
Toronto, and she's pregnant.
There should not be female prison. There should not be female prison guards in a fucking men's.
This was it was a hold, like he was in a holding cell.
Okay.
He wasn't actually in jail. Like, so she might have been a cop or some shit.
It would have said police officer. She was a correctional officer.
She was a correctional officer. I think he was in jail. Like,
you can still be in jail, still on like trial.
Yeah.
So, but that's still fucking insane.
How did they figure out that he's the one? Like, who snitched? I think
she probably did.
No, why would she admit to that? He probably did. He probably tried to blackmail her with some shit, or you know what I mean? Like that's
maybe like just security footage. I don't know. It's hard to find a place where there's no cameras when you're.
No, but this was figured out after she got pregnant. Right. So that means it came out that this was this dude's baby, but I don't know how. I don't know how that would. I'm assuming the dude probably blackmailed us, like, yo, listen, I might need you to do that.
Again, though, it's hard to blackmail from jail.
If she's a guard, you see her every day. She comes to work every day. You're like, yo, like da 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 da. And maybe she probably said, she probably told them,
or maybe she realized what she did was wrong and decided to. You never know. That's the thing. You never know.
Yeah.
Not that she's guilty, but maybe it was like a strategy of like, well, if I tell this first. Sometimes if you're the one to break the bad news.
But why bother?
I don't know.
Why bother?
I don't know.
She had a reason to come out and say it. And I don't think if you're out there fucking your the inmates that you
maybe okay.
I don't think morality.
She probably didn't just have sex once, so maybe she got caught like later on.
And then she got pregnant. And
no, she was like maybe already pregnant. Like maybe she was like a month or two pregnant, and then they got caught having sex.
I don't know.
Then
it's kind of hard to think about it though, because I've been arrested for like, I don't know, bro. Like there's a certain romance to it. How do you even go from kissing cows to that? Anyways,
no.
So second piece of weird news. Apparently, the NYPD used Woody Harrelson picture to nab a lookalike beer thief. So the New York Police Department used a photo of Woody how do you say it? Harrelson in its facial recognition program in an attempt to identify a beer thief who looked like the actor, according to a report published on Thursday. Georgetown University's Center on Privacy and Technology highlighted the April 2017 episode in Garbage In, Garbage Out, a report on what it says are flawed practices in law enforcement's use of facial recognition. I don't understand, like, so what? So they put up a picture of Woody, and then they were like, anybody who looks like him, they were just going to investigate? Like, where's I don't understand how the logic in that.
I don't know.
Probably somebody described them as looking.
And they didn't have an actual photo of him.
Yeah. So then they're like, okay, let's put a picture of him against the facial recognition.
How did when someone was like, do you know this man? They would be like, yeah, man, he's in movies. Like,
yeah, he
look at his Twitter, you'll probably find him.
You know, that's I don't know, man. Like imagine.
Or maybe they'd used the face and then changed it.
But I could see this.
Like imagine someone's like, have you seen this man? And it's fucking Tom Cruise. And it's like, well, he looks kind of like Tom Cruise. You'd be like, well, that's just Tom Cruise. Like,
I'm assuming what they did is they maybe put up a picture of him, and then they get like a bunch of people in their database that look like Woody, and then they ask the guy to identify.
Right. Yeah. Because with face, that's what's scary now.
Right.
Is they could scan the entire like internet because everything you put is public, right?
Yeah.
So if you get described as looking like someone, they could basically narrow it down from anyone who looks like this guy to anyone that lives in this area.
Yeah.
And like all the details that they do have, and then it's like, okay, it's probably this
him.
guy. Dude, that's fucking.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's good if you, for like the victim.
Right.
I get but just the fact that that's even possible is creepy.
I wonder if they were looking for me. How they described like, yeah. Have you seen Captain Phillips? The Somali pirate. Yeah, I'll bring that motherfucker on.
It's him in a Porsche with a scar on his face.
Yeah,
he looks like if the pirate actually got the ship.
You know what I mean? He actually got the ship. Yeah, he actually managed to sell off the ship. And he wasn't stabbed in the toe. No, his toes seem to be working quite fine. I don't know, man. Like that shit is scary though, bro. To think about, like.
Well, have you seen the people that can like you can basically if you have enough audio and data, you can basically make someone say anything and it looks like their mouth is moving.
I've seen that. I've seen actually even to a next level.
Where they change the face.
Where they can put like what it was the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Oh, this one guy on Instagram, he does it for like a bunch of comedians and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like. So Joe Rogan has like they did one. It's just look up the fakening or something on Instagram.
Oh yeah. No, but I've seen that where the one girl was she was interviewing a guy who does that, who's familiar with the technology or whatever, and the dude during the interview, the dude put a face of Nicolas Cage on her, and it looked like it was Nicolas Cage, with
that's not as scary as making whoever say whatever you like.
No, but the technology is going to get much better and very, very quickly. Can you imagine having to discern between if a person said that or if it's a fake? If it's like a fake video that was made,
you won't be able to trust someone.
Anything.
Someone made an AI with Joe Rogan's voice.
Oh yeah.
Look that up later. And
in
Joe's voice, he's talking about how he feels like a mind trapped in it. It's fucking creepy.
Really?
It's the creepiest fucking thing. The few words don't sound quite right. Or is it the way? But it's.
But he got the tonality right. The fucking. Like, it really sounds.
I don't know who did it, but yeah, just look up Joe Rogan AI fake voice or something.
Yeah. That's crazy, bro. Like, it's just. But you know what though? Now it's going to give ammunition to guys like Donald Trump who claim fake news. When fake news really becomes a thing that people have to,
you're looking at it backwards. Now this is just whoever's in office. It can be a weapon. If you see, here's the thing. If you like right now, you can go back and listen to what someone said, whatever.
Years ago, whatever. Yeah.
And what we've seen a lot is if you just say something over and over and over again, people will remember that's what was said. And then if you can change the audio and visual to what people think it is,
right?
And then maybe the original video is still there, but people won't know which one's the fake one because maybe a year later the narrative is like, oh no, this is what he definitely said, and now we can like. To me, that's fucking terrifying.
Right?
I wouldn't want that used against anyone.
Yeah.
Like if
and there's gonna be some people out there like for their own self-interest, fucking.
Oh, they'll be like, we need this to take the guy down, and then 5 years later, it's being used against them. Like it's a very strange path.
Scary
to go
shit,
to.
man. It's gonna be, it's what a time to be alive. That's crazy.
Weird.
All right, final story of the weird news. 5-year-old brings crack cocaine to preschool. Philadelphia police are investigating after a 5-year-old boy brought about 24 vials of crack cocaine into a preschool at a Roman Catholic church. Police said the boy told the teacher's aide at St. Cyprian Children's Center that the person who handed him the bag told him to hide it. So I don't know. Like, was this guy being?
Was he trying to smuggle drugs into a fucking daycare center? What the fuck?
I don't know. No,
maybe he got pulled over.
Maybe he got pulled over and they just give it to the kid. We're like, yeah, here.
I knew this drug dealer used to get the baby. She'd have her fucking baby in the car, and the toddler would give you the drugs. And you're like, do you think this prevents this from being illegal? Like,
no, people used to smuggle.
Pregnant women, people with children.
Yeah, children. You put it in the kid's diaper.
Yeah.
Like, because, I don't think, I've never seen kids really get checked like that at the
unless the dog alerts. If a dog alerts, then yeah.
Does the dog smell the kid like that, though, from a distance? Like, I don't know.
Oh, dude, the canine drug, holy shit. They can walk around a car and signal. And not only signal, but know, like, which seat it is.
It is on there right away, huh?
Yeah, so if he goes like back left seat, it's probably going to be somewhere there.
I never see I don't know. Every time I fly out of Pearson, I rarely see.
No, they don't. They don't use them a lot. It's they do them randomly where you're coming off the plane,
right?
And they'll just be there, or when you're getting on a plane. Right. I've had it happen when I went to Cuba.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I was 13, so I didn't have. I was fucking petrified though.
Yeah, those dogs look fucking.
The weirdest is when you go through and it selects you randomly, and then it will like wipe down your hands and shit to see if there's
wipe down your hands.
Yeah, to see if there's anything like in your system,
like residue or anything.
Yeah,
like what, the dog?
No, if you walk through, you push a button, and if it goes red, they'll wipe your like laptop, your wallet, and like your hand.
Really?
To see if there's anything, and they do it mostly for bomb residue,
right?
Or stuff that could be, but it also detects drugs and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they'll pull dogs out just randomly, or if you're getting pulled over. So the thing is, they can't use the dog every time. So the police needs enough credible suspicion, either if you're acting really fucking weird, or when people have pot in the car, they don't realize how much it stinks too. So like, you didn't smell the weed. I'm like, weed now, like a gram can like light up your entire car from the smell.
Yeah.
So then to get the actual that they can't search your car alone on that usually, unless they see paraphernalia or something in plain sight. Then they can.
Yeah.
If they have a suspicion, they'll pull the dog out, run around the car. Sometimes
now that weed is legal, like if my
you can have weed in your car, but then they might do a field sobriety test, right? Like if you come from the LCBO, you can have alcohol, it just can't be opened.
So let's say I'm trying to like move, like fucking 100 pounds, and I have them like stashed somewhere in my car. It's not visible, but I have like a little baggie with like a gram or two. and then they bring the dog. They're like, yeah, no, I have personal use.
Yeah, but that dog will probably signal to the trunk where you're hiding. If you have a large amount, they'll smell that out first. They'll signal in different spots because they know people do that.
Right.
People will admit to a small amount of drugs to think that it will get them off.
Right.
But they don't. Once you admit to having drugs, then
it doesn't probable cause to. But if weed is legal, though, then how do you justify?
Again, that's up to them. What container is the weed in? And if you have a bunch of legal weed, and they find it, it's no big deal for you, right?
Right, but I'm saying, what if you're using that as some sort of like...
and you're only allowed to have a certain amount on you?
Right, yeah. So
it's not the fact that... I know, but it's the fact that they're more concerned about the amount and if you're under the influence. Those are the two biggest things with pot. Especially the containers now, like they're completely sealed off, and like you can't really smell anything from it anyway. Like they can tell if the container's been broken or not.
But it could be like, okay.
But you do that with alcohol, right? If they see an open alcohol container in your front, that gives them probable cause to search your entire car. Right. So if you have a bunch of unopened bottles in the car,
right, they can't really use that as a.
Yeah, they can. You're not allowed to have open alcohol in your car.
No, but if it's unopened, they can't.
If it's unopened, no, they can't do anything.
They can use that as a probable cause. Yo, I've had like once a cop like.
Sometimes though they will open it to make sure it's alcohol because you could have like liquid cocaine.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's
So it really is up to the discretion of.
Listen to how crazy this is though. So this one time, like me and my buddy, we are in the parking lot of a strip club, and apparently like the week before that there had been some shooting or whatever.
Oh, shit.
So then, literally, car is not running. We're sitting there, but there is an open bottle of Hennessy in the back. And cops just pull up in the parking lot, and they're like, oh, hey, they try to use some excuse. They're like, oh, we saw you drop off some girl. I'm like, wait, what? No, there was no girl in this car. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's what's great about having a dash cam. You can prove your innocence.
Yeah, but they ask us to get out of the car, check licenses, everything. But then he sees the open bottle. All he does is just listen to how fucking insane this guy is. He takes out the bottle, empties it out on the side of the car, then takes the empty bottle and puts it back in my car. I'm like, wait.
He could have given.
But of course I didn't argue that. But I'm like, where's the logic behind that? So when your next buddy down the road pulls me over,
because that's not why he wasn't pulling you over for suspicious of drunk driving, and he could probably tell you didn't smell of alcohol.
Right.
And again, it's up to their discretion. You weren't driving. You didn't get pulled over for driving erratically.
Right.
So he was probably like, okay, I'm going to just empty this and we'll put it back, and it's now just an empty bottle.
Yeah, but isn't that still like that's an issue if you have a whole completely empty bottle?
No, not at all, because you could be returning bottles. You could have fucking 100 in your trunk.
Right. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess I can see.
You're allowed to have an empty container.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I guess.
And with when they test so let's say if the drug dog signals in the trunk, and all you have is alcohol, then they're gonna assume, okay, this is probably not alcohol, and then they'll open it, smell it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you if it all has to do with the scenario that they're in and their better judgment.
Right.
That's why you have cops giving some people a break, and then sometimes they like the amount of times I've seen videos of like if they had just
shut
like
the
this
fuck
one
up,
woman, she got rear-ended, and the cops were they thought they could smell pot, and her eyes were glossy, and then they get her out of the car to search it. They don't find anything. She's now incriminating herself by just being on the phone with her lawyer, and they're like, I want to do one sobriety test with you because I have a suspicion that you might be drunk. If you refuse it, you're now because when you have
to bring you in.
Because when you get your license, you actually agree to taking a sobriety test if requested by a police officer.
Right.
she's in like she works for the government, so she doesn't even know this fucking law, and she's just yelling with her lawyer on the phone, like, they're fucking harassing me. I didn't do anything. Someone who protests their innocence that much is usually
usually guilty of some shit. Yeah.
So she's trying to interrupt a DUI examination, and eventually she's like, I want to speak to your
your supervisor.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So he comes, the cop tells him the situation. He goes, okay, walks out to her. The cop again says, you're right on the edge of obstruction right now because you're not letting me. And they've been telling her this forever. And then the supervisor just goes, you're under arrest, ma'am. Like, he was just not having any of this. And she's like, what did I do? What did I do? And he's like, all you had to do. And the thing is, she could go get her, her blood tested or whatever at the jail. She could have zero alcohol in her, but she's still going to get charged for obstruction.
Oh, shit.
And maybe disorderly conduct.
Right.
So even if you are drunk and you get pulled over, the worst thing you can do is put up a fight because now you've just added to the charge, and then the judge will see that.
So what ended up happening? Like,
I don't know. It was just I was watching just this like video of cops pulling over people who work in government and just how like
they get obnoxious.
Yeah, this one guy was drunk on a motorcycle going 70 in a 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's still trying
70,
to
I think, kilometers an hour is like 160, 150. And going, that'd be like driving 150 in like a 70.
Honestly, man, I can tell you for a fact that, with cops, man, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. I've been in situations where they could have fucked me, bro. Like, I remember, like, I think I may have told you the story, but like, when I got my G1, I didn't know. I thought this was like the same thing as the States, where you can go for your G2 like the day after.
Depends on the state. Some
no, but a lot of them. I know in Virginia, where I live, you can fucking go that same afternoon.
If you pass it, you pass.
Yeah, you pass your permit, you can go for your full license the same afternoon.
Yeah.
So
you probably won't pass because you have zero driving experience.
Yeah. But I mean, if that's a whole entire different. But I end up finding out that here, it's either you can do only 8 months if you go to driving school, or you have to wait a full 12 months.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had just kind of started working. I'm making a little money. Boom. First day I got my G1, I went out and bought a car. So 3 weeks later, I'm coming back from a Lil Wayne concert. You know what I'm saying? I think at that time I was like 21, 20. And, I just bought my first, like, I remember my first car was a 1997 Mercedes C230. And, like, I'm feeling myself. I got a chain on at that time. I'm coming back from the concert. And the girl in the car in front of me hits the car in front of her. And then I stop just in time not to hit her, but the car behind me hits me in the back. Now there's like a 5-car collision. OPP shows up. Everybody hand in your licenses. I'm like, fuck, I'm about to get deported in this motherfucker. I'm losing my shit. I give the cop my license. He goes, they check the licenses. 5 minutes later, he comes back. He's like, buddy, do you know you're driving on a G1 license? I'm like, what? So I'm just like, so immediately in my head, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I gotta come up with a story. So I come up with a story about how, I just came from Africa and I was told that my license that I had there, that...
You just go like,
no. So, but listen to how this story saved my life. So I'm like, listen, when I went to exchange my license, they gave me this one. I thought this was the actual license replacement. I didn't know that I had to get another one. He's like, where are you from? So I tell him I'm from Rwanda. Luckily, the dude is like, yo, no, it was even more. He's like, oh shit, my brother was one of the UN soldiers that was in the country during the war. So we start talking, Next thing you know, he's telling me, he's like, yo, listen, buddy, like, you're bilingual. If you want, like the RCMP is aggressively trying to hire people from, African communities, He gives me pamphlets. This guy should have literally towed my car. Yeah. And impounded my car right away. You should have
lost your license.
Right away, lost my license. Tell me how this guy tells the tow truck driver to drive my car to my house. And then it's like, tomorrow come by the station, your license is going to be waiting for you there.
Your
Bro,
G1?
I drove in my car to the police station. So ever since then, bro, I've never really had, God,
See,
knock on wood.
A lot of
I
people
never
really
had
hate the OPP. I've had only good experience with the OPP.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was caught speeding going 35 over. My license was at home. I didn't have any photo ID. All I had was my written out G2.
Right.
And a thing that, because I have these things in my car that you need a prescription for it. I don't use them just for having one hand. And all I had was my name was on both of them.
Right.
So I couldn't prove who I was. So I literally am tearing apart my car trying to find my wallet. I left it at home.
Right.
I had 3 people in the car. They were all looking for it. I'm like up on Markham Road in the middle of nowhere. He comes back and he's like, well, I dropped the ticket down to 15. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, and I do believe you are who you say you are because it's very difficult to fake having one arm.
Yeah.
Because the thing says like missing left arm.
Right.
And same with on my written out G2 license.
Right.
So I was like, thank you. Like, I was like, yeah, it is pretty hard to,
Yeah.
And then so.
Can you imagine if you try to doubt that? And
well, they put it.
I suspect I saw you throwing something out of the window on the way he was coming to arrest you. I believe you threw your arm out of the window.
Yeah.
So
Or one time I just full out just put my nub like right on the window. So.
Like, hello.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? You're driving on the right. So what? You have to like turn. Yeah. Oh, so but you would have to put it out of your.
I'm missing my left hand, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, it is.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Sorry, bro. Sorry. Okay, that makes sense. Shit. On that note, I guess we'll put this little baby to an end. Are you anywhere this week?
Nope.
You're like, nope. I'm still analyzing my dreams as a stand-up comic. Yo, give him your socials again, big.
Jameson Comic, spelled like the whiskey. JAMESON Comic. And on Facebook, just Jameson Donnell, spelt the real way. On Instagram, there's an I before the E.
Oh, shit.
And the Facebook. But just do Instagram. Facebook is more dumpster fire that I don't really go on anymore.
Fucking a liberal dumpster fire.
No, just everyone's a fucking dumpster fire.
All right. And you know me as your boy, Mr. Robbie Hollywood. Robbie Hollywood on Instagram, Robbie Hollywood on Twitter, Facebook. And until next week, remember to say what you said.